Yeah, over a milk dud. Somebody threw a milk dud in the arena. It wasn't fair.
Oh my god. Yeah, that shit was funny. It wasn't even a fight. It was just a fucking massacre. Fucking Wings of Redemption massacred Boogie. Which is funny because they're both pathetic, but it's just so funny that like one of them was just so much more.
Oh, Rings of Redemption had that. My wife fucked the shoe salesman energy. He needed to get it out on somebody.
Also, I was muted for a few seconds there, but no one missed anything from me. Really.
Yeah, he was just giggling like a little schoolgirl. That's all you meant.
Wow! Rude!
Did either of you see that image of fucking Wings of Redemption's back during the fight?
No.
Oh wait,
Oh
I
my
did!
God.
I saw a small video clip. He has back tits.
Oh god.
There's an image of him, and it looks like his fucking back is like, it looks like he hit a rock on his like front, and his spine just like broke into pieces in the back, like jutting out. It looks so weird.
Oh my
like,
god.
There's clearly something wrong with his back. I don't know what the fuck was going on, but if I could find it again, I'll post it here, but I don't know if I can.
It's been 14 months since you covered Season 1. How does that feel? I did not mean for it to be this long, I swear.
Yeah.
If all goes well, we should be covering Season 3 in July or August.
Of 2025.
Wow. Oh, ye of little faith.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful that we'll cover it sooner.
Actually, I should probably say August or September, because I really want to get these videos I'm working on done being made and edited. And watching Deep Space Nine will interfere with that a bit.
Yeah.
Because
I found it.
I really have to get these done.
Alright,
Oh
my
my
morbid curiosity's
God.
here. Let's see.
I told you, man. It's fucked. There's something wrong with him.
Jesus Christ, though, even though his back, he's a fucking hunchback, he still knocked the shit out of Boogie in that picture.
I might as well put this wonderful image up for chat to see. Hold on. Where's my image thing? Oh wait, hold on.
Fucking...
I have to show it before I change it to this image. Because it is such a hilarious image.
I'm gonna mentally scar our fucking audience.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. With all the stupid people we've covered, we've done that already.
Yeah. Here you go, chat. Enjoy that. If anybody can figure out what the fuck is wrong with Wings' back.
Yeah, I saw this picture and I was just like, oh my god.
Yep.
See, if he had been hit like super hard, you can write that off as like the loose flesh.
Fat wobbing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just don't believe Boogie has the power to hit anyone that hard.
Yeah. No, look at Boogie. Boogie's getting just thwacked right in the head.
Yeah, this is what happens.
Yeah,
this is what
right
happens
in the
when
face.
Boogie can't pull a fucking gun in the middle of the fight.
Yeah. Oh god.
I
Get off my stage. Get off my stage right now.
Have you guys ever watched the EFAP coverage of Batwoman?
Yes, bits and pieces.
Yeah,
one of
I
the
have.
episodes they watched, they did an edit where Boogie is in the video with a gun shooting. It was fucking hilarious. I think it was when the new Batwoman came in. The black actress replaced Ruby Rose. I had to remember her name there for a bit.
I stopped watching those shortly after the replacement.
Yeah.
It got so much worse. Like,
Yeah.
shockingly, it got so much worse, because
Well,
it was
the
already,
thing-
like, terrible.
The thing with season 1 of Batwoman is it was that hilarious kind of bad. Where after that it was just kind of... Like, it was still funny, but not as funny.
What'd you bring me?
Um,
Yeah, so, besides watching two fat retards beat each other up, or, well, one fat retard beat the shit out of another fat retard, what else have we done? What else have you guys done this week?
I watched Color Out of Space, and it was decent. I liked it. It's starring Nick Cage, and it seems like he has two ways of acting. He can either play a role seriously, in which he does decently well, or he plays crazy weirdo, and this was one of his crazy weirdo movies, and it kind of brought it down for me. But otherwise,
Wait, you don't like the most infamous and famous? Not the bees. It's in my eyes.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of moments kind of like that in this movie, unfortunately. But it's a movie based off of a H.P. Lovecraft story, The Color Out of Space, and again, the movie was good, but I think I still prefer the original short story because I listened to it on audiobook, and I think the audiobook, well, I shouldn't say audiobook version. I think the original is just that much more grim, you know? Because, Lovecraft stuff.
A lot of it, too, is because you're going to build up scenes and set pieces in your own mind as you're going through. So
but
that is hard to compete with.
Certain things were also handled differently. Like, there's definitely a lot of creative freedom with this.
Fair.
Which is fun. I still think it's a decent movie. It's just a preference for the book version, you know?
Yeah. What about you, Pagan? What did you do this week?
Work.
Wow, it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's been not great. So, yeah, no, I've been too busy to do anything that I really want to do. So,
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it's just been a lot of crap going on.
Yeah, sorry to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My end, we watched the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes movie. That was fantastic. It went very well. We're going to be watching the sequel this Saturday, so that'll be fun.
Oh.
And did Rumble streams. Those were actually all really well. Every Rumble stream I've done so far has gone very, very well.
Good.
And I really like the back end of it. It's very YouTube-like for how you set up the streams and do everything, but it's a lot more streamlined. There's not multiple pages or anything like that. It's one page, here's all your stuff on it, there you go, go. And you're good to go. It is really handy. It's really nice. And then it gives you multiple breakdowns of, like, here if you want to embed it. Here are, custom embed links for everything. If you ever want to put it anywhere, here's all this other stuff you can do. So they give you all kinds of stuff when you actually do it, when you do Rumble streams. So very, very nice system, very handy. Also, I'm monetized right out of the gate, so people can subscribe to my Rumble already. I mean, like, can pay for membership to Rumble already. They can do donations in Rumble and everything already. Like, it's just out of the gate.
Nice.
It's a really nice system, honestly. Played a game called Night of the Dead, which is another zombie survival open world game, right?
That reminds me of something when you're done talking about that.
Yeah. But this, again, it's janky as fuck. There's weirdness, like there's a Beretta that is your handmade handgun. It's a Beretta, and it has Picatinny rails on it for some reason, because that's fucking weird. And then your handmade machine gun, or handmade machine gun is, or homemade machine gun, is an MP40 with Picatinny rails on it. So that's even weirder. But what's so interesting about this game is the fact that it's all about building traps. Like, you build death traps to kill the zombie hordes, because you get attacked by a zombie horde every night. So you build death traps. It's really, really good. But it's janky as fuck, too. So, it's definitely one of those, like, there's a lot of nonsense in here, but boy. Oh, that's the other thing about the Beretta. For whatever reason, when I reloaded the Beretta, I realized it only had 7 bullets in it. And I was like, what? It's like, you have a 7-round capacity in a fucking Beretta? What the hell is this? What caliber is this? And then you shoot it, and it literally sounds like... And I'm like, what the fuck is that? That is not a gunshot.
Oh.
Yeah, so there you go. It's been a fun fun week, and we are. I have decided I will be officially moving to Rumble, but it's going to be at the end of the month. The end of the month will be the last ever Twitch stream, so we're just going through and alternating between the two sites right now,
Nice.
so that people know. And then at the end of the month, that'll be it. I'll be moving officially to Rumble fully time. So there we go.
There's two things that I remembered that I wanted to talk about quickly. They're both very quick.
Yeah.
First of all, new Demonologist update, new map.
Yes, I saw.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
to play it so bad.
Oh, so do I. Holy shit. The first level has an upstairs now. That's one of the things we were talking about last time. Man, I wish they would really unblock some of these areas. You know, there's
Yep.
that upstairs area. Like, what's up there? We could go up there now. Oh.
Yep.
Also for the lighthouse, like player base, they've added an upstairs to that too. Though I've never seen the lighthouse in the first place.
Ben has it, so he's gonna be happy because they've added some stuff to his lighthouse. So
Yeah, they also added a new player base that you could get. It's really expensive though. It's 50,000.
oh god,
And the next map is teased on the map wall, the way the previous one was. I can't wait to see the new map, man. Oh my god.
apparently it's the Kurosawa house,
Yeah,
so that'll be fun.
yeah, I can't wait.
I think we can already go to it with my level. I
Yeah,
think
you
we
should
can
be
go
able
it.
to.
So that'll be fun.
The other thing is, and this is more unfortunate news, Amnesia the Bunker releases next week. In fact, I believe it's Tuesday next week, and I work Tuesday, but I have Wednesday off, and I will be streaming it. I want it to be good. I don't think it will be. Because the writer who did Dark Descent and Soma isn't there anymore, from what I understand. And just please don't be as bad as fucking Amnesia Stillbirth. I don't want to have to do another video.
Yeah.
But either way, I will be playing it. Please pray for my sanity.
So 11-month membership message from Geiger.
Thank you.
Hello, fellas. Hope you're doing great. I need to ask you for opinion. Is highly modded Skyrim worth it? I tended to play some, but on the other hand, nah.
So,
I mean,
that's something we can't really answer, because what you find fun is what you find fun.
yeah.
We can't say what you will find fun or not.
Yep.
Because there's mods, I'm pretty sure there's mods that add quests or entire quest lines. There's certainly mods that improve aspects of gameplay.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll work for you, I don't know. I really can't answer that. That all depends on you. And £5 from Threadnought. Thank you. Such is working on his kobold base. Every time someone reminds him that it'll never be a dragon, it's just a small snack boy, he builds another trap.
Oh, it's awful. Yeah, it is genuinely fun making booby traps in that. Like you don't just make traps, right? It's not like, oh, I'm just gonna make, palisades and like spike walls and stuff like that. It's not like that. No, I have like a bunch of spike walls that lead down into a tunnel that has 2 spinning blade traps that then goes down into a tunnel where there's a giant pendulum with a massive wrecking ball on it that has spikes welded to it that swings down and clobbers things. If they manage to get past that, there's another spinning trap with more spike walls. So it's just a fun base setup, and I can just sit there and watch as they literally lawnmower zombies, just like slice, 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 slice. Because when I say horde night, by the way, and there's a horde every single night that attacks you. When I say horde, I was like, okay, well, it's the first night. How bad can it be? When I saw the 70th zombie in a row, I was like, okay. It's real bad. Yeah, hordes in that game don't fuck around. They bring hundreds and hundreds of zombies to you.
Wow. So it's like 7 Days to Die, but more intense.
Yeah, and it's a horde every single night. Once midnight hits, it's game on.
I feel like this is the kind of thing that arose from someone playing Half-Life 2, and there's those couple traps in Ravenholm, and they're just like, I want an entire game of this.
I wish the traps were that powerful. They don't cut them in like one hit. That would be so cool. But there's a ton of zombie variety. And I was like, you know what? That's not a bad waste of resources, right? What is your player going to be fighting the entirety of your zombie survival game? It's going to be the zombies. So them putting in so much effort to have what I've seen so far is at least 20 different types of zombie is really nutty. Like that's a really good idea, honestly. Because that's your primary antagonist, so you don't ever get in a rhythm of, oh, it's the biker zombie, I do this with it. There's been all kinds of them. There's a schoolgirl zombie that shows up and it just screams at you and then runs away like a fucking madman. And the whole point you have to do is you have to kill the schoolgirl zombie and steal all their books, because that's how you level up in the research tree. You take books and you read the books to level up in the research tree. Oh, it's also very Project Zomboid-like, to where you actually have to like create a character. Like, what is your character? Oh, he's a police officer, so you get these buffs and benefits. Well, do you have any debuffs? Do you have any other buffs you want to take? They have to balance out on a point system. It's an interesting game for sure.
Huh.
But some of the zombies are really weird. There's the BDSM zombies, and I shit you not, that's what they are. They were people that were obviously caught in a very compromising situation. So they're walking around like all tied up to these things, and they can't attack you or anything, so they just scream, and that just calls a bunch of other zombies to you. And it's like, oh fuck. So every time I see them, I'm like, no screaming, and I just run out and beat them down, and I'm like, I know you like this, you kinky fuck, but die.
Okay, that's something then.
Yeah. The zombie, the game is called Night of the Dead.
Oh, you like Deep Space Nine? Name all the Name all 9 deep spaces. Alright, I will. Deep Space 1, Deep Space 2, Deep Space 3, Deep Space 4, Deep Space 5, Deep Space 6, Deep Space 7, Deep Space 8, and Terok
Before anyone thinks we're shitposting, that is legitimately what the Federation calls its deep space stations. That is 100% what the Federation's naming scheme for its deep space stations are.
Just checked. Amnesia the Bunker has a new writer. Rebirth was written by Ian Thomas. Okay, so there's a Canadian singer named Ian Thomas, who makes good music. So every time I see that name, I'm just like, ah. While Bunker was written by Mikhail Hedberg. Well, okay, there's a chance then. There's a chance it will be good. Look, I just have little faith after the shit show that was Stillbirth, okay?
Yeah. So I suppose to get into our actual coverage, I'll ask the question. Pagan, as someone who hadn't seen it before, what did you think of Season 2?
I really liked it. I think it was a step up from Season 1. Not by like a huge margin or anything, but like enough that it was noticeable, and I really enjoyed it.
What would you rate the season overall?
Ooh. Probably an 8, maybe a 9.
Oh.
Dang, that is very high praise, honestly.
See, I wouldn't have given it that high of a rating because I know what comes later, and I would save an 8 or a 9 for later seasons.
Yeah, there's definitely some seasons that deserve a 9 for sure.
Yeah,
I'd probably say an 8 then, because there were some episodes in this that I really didn't care for.
Yeah, there's definitely some tism still. There's always tism in Star Trek, but it wouldn't be Star Trek without the tism.
Oh, absolutely. There is. $10 from Itako the Tricky. Thank you very much.
There's also another super chat we have to grab.
Oh, I forgot the one from Just Guy from Alabama. Let's jump for that one real quick.
Okay. $5 from Just a Guy from Alabama. Thank you. The Halo TV show should have been about either Marines or ODST, and more like Band of Brothers, instead of CW garbage. Yeah, agreed.
100% agree. That would have been a fantastic show to go through. Honestly, what would have been more interesting, and what I genuinely think would make for way better storytelling, and I've said it multiple times whenever we talk about the Halo TV show, is I want to see one from dual perspective, One from the perspective of the ODST or the Marines, and the other from the perspective of the elites, the Sanghali. To be like, what do they think of what they're doing? Are they proud of what they're doing? And sure, at first they would be, but then the whole point behind the Halo series is that more and more of them start questioning their beliefs of like, if everybody is allowed to walk the road to the greatest, on the great journey, if you're allowed to join the path to the great journey, why is humanity not allowed to? And that's a dangerous question when your, entire culture is based on a religious ideology. When you start questioning the tenets of that religious ideology being inconsistent, it just, oh boy. And I think that would be fascinating to go through. Of like, and have Sanghali who are on frontline duty versus Sanghali who are backline. The Sanghali who are backliner are still very much like, yes, this is a noble cause, a noble crusade and everything, and the ones that are frontline duties are getting warier and warier. So I think that would be fascinating. I think that would be a way more interesting show. And it's not a perspective we've ever seen before. So that'd be something that'd be really cool to go through. Meanwhile, $10 from Itako the Tricky. Thank you. Hey gang, I've been enjoying Legend of Zelda: The Tears of the Kingdom, I think is what that is. And patrolling the fields of Hyrule without Breath of the Wild speedrun tech makes me wish for a nuclear winter. How you guys been?
Oh,
pretty good, honestly.
I've been wanting to get that game too, but honestly, I should hold off because I really want to get these videos done. I suppose I can technically announce it now. Recently I've been working on the Fallout 4 analysis again, so this isn't a new video. I have remade part 1 in its entirety. It is done right now, aside from maybe a couple tweaks I may or may not add. But I've rendered out a version and it's done and uploaded, but it's unlisted. I have re-recorded the audio for part 3. And I currently have about an hour and 40 minutes done of the part 2 remake. And part 4 is almost entirely scripted, aside from some bits and bobs I'm adding. The plan is to get part 2 and 4 finished, and then upload all four, make all 4 videos public, premiere them every 2 weeks until all 4 are out, through June and July. So if all goes well, you guys will be seeing those coming out.
Yeah. And we've already seen a bunch of it because obviously, we've got to go through and check for errors and things like that.
Well, you don't have to, but it is appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
So, suppose, now that we've got the overall thing of it, let's do a very brief summary of each episode. And we're not going to go into details when this isn't a scene-by-scene breakdown. We're basically just going to give very broad strokes with this. Because we're going to go into detail with the episodes later. Because there's top 3, bottom 3 sort of thing. And why.
Yeah. The main thing is we don't want to be sitting here for 8 hours again. Yes. I don't mind doing 8-hour streams on occasion. But as much as I like Deep Space Nine, I don't want to be sitting here for 8 hours straight talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the starting of the season, basically we have a three-parter right off the start. So we come with the first 3 episodes, which is the Homecoming, the Circle, and the Siege, and they all tell the same storyline, which is now that Bajor has more established itself, Bajor is becoming a lot more authoritarian and a lot more xenophobic, which is a nice, interesting twist considering the first season, especially after the episode Duet in the first season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're getting more of that, of the Bajorans are kind of racist pieces of shit, honestly.
Well,
which again, what a fantastic, what a fantastic change of pace. Like, instead of the Bajorans always being the victims and always being the goody two-shoes at all times, here, the very first start of Season 2, the three-parter is, the Bajorans are the bad guys. The Bajorans are not being good. They're not living up to their better natures. They are being assertive, they're being authoritarian, and trying to, like, get rid of anybody that isn't Bajorans.
Yeah, and I like how the show constantly does that, too, where it's not like, oh, the Bajorans are always the innocent good guys, and the Cardassians are always the evil bad guys. They balance it out really well.
Yes. It makes it more realistic, because, yeah, you can understand where the Bajorans are coming from, but you can also see that they're clearly in the wrong, like, wanting to murder the Federation, wanting to kill Federation officers and personnel and everything, that's a fucking, like, why? Federation is here trying to help you. But it makes sense from the Bajoran perspective. Hey, the Cardassians were here to help us, and look how that turned out. And so it's a very interesting thing playing off of the idea of yes, the Bajorans were the victims. That doesn't automatically mean they'll be correct in everything they do from then on, which is a message that a lot of people really need to understand and hear. Just because you were the victim once doesn't mean you will always be correct from then on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the first 3 episodes, and it was a very fascinating first 3 set of episodes, because Kira is obsessed with finding a hero of the Resistance, because it's what Bajor needs. They need strong leadership. There is clearly a organization known as the Circle that is whipping everybody up into a frenzy, being incredibly racist against all other peoples and everything. And a lot of Bajor is falling under their sway, so she thinks, hey, if I get a war hero, if I bring Lee Nahlas here, he is going to stabilize everything. And she does find him. They actually break him out of a Cardassian concentration camp, and the Cardassians were like, we didn't realize there were still concentration camps. We totally swear we didn't keep Lee Nahlas locked away forever because he was a war hero. We swear.
We definitely didn't know about this government-operated fucking death camp that we still operate. Okay.
Yeah, and
Sure.
had multiple guard shift changes, and you needed checkpoints to get there, and the fact that the Cardassians are infamously known for being meticulous and kind of autistic record keepers. Though, they totally forgot this one existed. Totally.
It's also funny knowing that information, especially with the second last episode of the season.
Yes.
I know we'll get to talking about that one eventually, but what a good but horrible insight to their society in that one episode.
Yes, absolutely. Again, Cardassian society is very jingoistic. It's very, like, everything is for the state at the benefit of the state. And I love that we're going to go into how that can be a good thing and how that can be a terrible thing. Like, most people realize how it's a terrible thing, and then there's a lot of aspects of how it's a good thing, how you can put the lives of others before your own because you're so used to that for duty to your state, right? So there's a lot of self-sacrifice in Cardassian society, which is a good thing. However, all the rest of the stuff that comes with it is very much a bad thing. Yeah, so that's the first 3-parter. The Deep Space Nine crew manages to reveal that the Cardassians are actually funding this super racist, hardcore Bajoran movement. So the Cardassians are funding it so that the Bajorans will oust the Federation, and then the Cardassians are going to come right back in. Good play. It's a nice little nod of how all these little things are going to go, right? It's a nice, like, play on how the strategies and the villains of Deep Space Nine are going to operate. It's not you're in the open, haha, I'm cacklingly evil. There's a lot of manipulation. There's a lot of subtle stuff behind the scenes. There's a lot of, like, politicking and scheming that goes into all this.
Yeah. Now, it's also a bit of a contrast from TNG, because, well, TNG, it didn't really have an overarching storyline for the most part. They would return to plot lines here and there, like the Borg and stuff. But they didn't really take they didn't really go overarching the way Deep Space Nine does.
Oh yeah.
I wish they had a little bit more, because there's Captain Tomalak or something like that, who is a Romulan captain, and he does have that kind of out there, haha, I'm a bad guy, I'm gonna be evil. Like, obviously not that blatant, but there's just that one encounter he has with Picard, where he's like, I will fly back to Romulus with the whole of the Enterprise strapped to my ship as a trophy. We don't get anything like that quite yet in Deep Space Nine. I don't think... Do we get anything like that at all in Deep Space Nine?
Kind of, but that's super spoilery.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go into that.
Yeah. I didn't mean to go into it. Just like, do things become a little bit more blatant? Because there's definitely a lot of backhanded dealing throughout the show, let's say.
I'd say blatant is once we get to the final season.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Where
Oh,
a
man.
certain character becomes like the Antichrist. Basically.
Yeah. Spoilers, Bashir.
No.
I was gonna say
it was
spoilers, O'Brien.
Yeah. It was a setup the whole time.
By the way,
His Irish temperament got in the way.
I know we're going to ask Pagan at some point what character he's most interested in following is, but I'm curious what you think of O'Brien as a character at this point, now that you've had 2 seasons of him.
I really like him. He's not like my favorite or anything, but I do like how, like, what's the word?
He's an everyman.
Like he's just done with everybody's shit. He just doesn't fucking care. He's just like, shut the fuck up.
That's what you get when you get somebody who's a veteran who was not part of the officer corps, but more like an NCO. They're kind of done with everybody's shit. Like, no, I know what we need to do to get this shit fucking done. Now shut your mouth and let me do my work.
I like how half the time he's on screen, he just has that one expression on his face, like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he'll be listening to what they're saying, and you just see him in the background becoming more grim and annoyed. And they're like, "Oh, Brian," he's like, "Yep, I know," because he knows that. Okay, yep, here's some bullshit that's gonna get shoveled on my plate.
Yeah, I love O'Brien. He's great.
But yeah, the 4th episode then is invasive procedures, which, we'll discuss more about this, but it is an episode where a kind of weak, frail Trill shows up during a plasma storm. So they had evacuated Deep Space Nine except for, essential personnel. And this weak Trill guy takes Dax hostage and forces her to perform a procedure to remove the symbiote and put it into him. Yeah, there's not really much to say about that episode. It's clearly a bottle episode. Like, they didn't want to have a bunch of extras or anything like that, so the sets are really barren. There's not really many sets they go through. So, it's a budget episode for sure.
What is a bottle episode? What's the... I've heard the phrase before.
So essentially what bottle episodes is their way to constrain on budget. Their way to save on it.
Okay.
So you basically are looking at the entirety of the show through a bottle. It's just a tiny little fragment of things. So you only get the bare minimum needed people on set, the bare minimum needed set pieces itself, the bare minimum needed costumes.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see really extravagant aliens. There's not going to be tons of like CGI or anything like that. It's going to be as budget as possible.
All right. Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a shame they didn't do more with that then, because some of the best episodes from other shows can often be bottle episodes. Like,
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched it, but Midnight in Doctor Who is one I hear people refer to frequently. When listening to Real BBC, it's one that Mahler brings up frequently as being like one of the best bottle episodes ever. Because it all takes place in... I believe it's a train? I don't remember. I really have to rewatch it again. But yeah.
It's the same basic concept here, because think about the number of sets we had. everything on the command bridge,
In the
one
infirmary.
shot of the infirmary, and then one shot of an airlock. That's it.
Well, don't we even see them walking through the promenade for a brief minute?
Yeah, but that's when they're going for the airlock thing.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? It's a very, very simple episode. You have no other extras or anything like that around, so it's very contained. It is the bare minimum amount of people on set that they can do, and a lot of it's just just talking between two characters, right? That's all it really is throughout that episode. And then episode 5 is the Cardassians. Garrick and Bashir are shooting the shit, and Garrick is teasing the fuck out of Bashir constantly. And there happens to be a Bajoran who has a Cardassian boy, a boy with him, like just a child. And the child freaks out and bites Garrick and jumps into the arms of the Bajoran, who looks at Garrick like, I should fucking kill you and shit like that. Turns out that this leads into a whole deeper, complex web of things that we'll go into more detail later. But it's a fascinating idea because it also plants the unintended consequences of the occupation. War orphans. And these are people that don't have any status in Cardassian or Bajoran society, because the Bajorans, the Cardassian war orphans, are part Cardassian, and they look the part, they look Cardassian, so they don't really want them around. And then for Cardassian society, their lineage is not set in stone, so you have no status. If you went to Cardassia, you would basically be cannon fodder for whatever scheme the state wants to cook up.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those episodes that there's a lot more to it than what's on the surface, and I love that that's even the plot of it. There's a lot more to what's going on.
Yeah. And just another quick note, it's similar to what we said about the Bajorans being the bad guys in the opening three-parter. This does show the Cardassians in a bit of a better light, somewhat.
Yeah.
Because this is where we learn that family is everything to them.
Yes. Your lineage, your family, everything, like, that is sacred to Cardassian society. The family is everything.
To the point where this politician's career could be ruined for the fact that his orphan was on Bajor for all these years.
Yeah, and he didn't know. And it didn't matter that he searched for him. He didn't search enough is the problem.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. The fact that his child was alive is the issue.
Yeah, the fact that the child was alive and he didn't find him, no amount of searching is enough until he finds him.
Yeah.
It's a really good episode.
Yeah, and that's where we first understand that Cardassians are so tight-knit in family that you'll have 3 to 4 generations that live in the same house. That's how vital Cardassian family is to their entire society. Like, it is incredibly close-knit. It means everything to them. That's why the war orphans have no status, because your lineage, your parentage is unknown. Like, maybe they'll figure out who the father is, or maybe the mother is, but what Bajoran did you come from? Like, and it's also Bajoran, so you're already tainted there. So it's just a total situation that's really dark. Then we get into Melora, which is episode 6. This is where a special snowflake species shows up and then needs special snowflake species things, but is taught how to actually trust and love other people.
Well, I think it's a little bit different than special snowflake stuff.
It is. I think she does genuinely need it, but it's one of those ones where it's somebody who is so rebellious against the idea of needing to rely on anyone else because their body does need to rely on other people that they overcrank it. And it's actually brought up as a plot point, right?
Yeah.
Like, her entire point of, like, hey, stop attacking people, stop shoving in people's faces. People want to help you because they can be nice people.
Yeah.
It's really, Just woo boy. Then we go into rules of acquisition, which is just I love this. I really do. Rules of acquisition is an episode where a Ferengi woman, already a big no-no. Ferengi women are not supposed to be off the homeworld, but Ferengi woman is on Deep Space Nine pretending to be a man, and is actually really good at being a man in Ferengi society. Is really good at doing business dealings and everything. So not only is she not on the homeworld, not only is she doing business decisions, she's also clothed, which is, again, these are 3 deadly, like, you will be executed sins for each one of these. But yeah, holy shit, and it actually fools Quark and Grand Nagus Zek, which actually leads into an amusing ending where she shows that she's actually a woman to Grand Nagus, which freaks Grand Nagus Zek out.
The reaction is immediate. He starts screaming. He's all offended. I love when he's I love when he's walking away and he just sounds so hurt where he's like, "Shame on you." The episode does have some awkward moments though, because like Quark thinks what's her name again? Pell. Quark thinks Pell is a guy the whole time when she's coming on to him, so there's a bit of awkwardness there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty decent episode, I think. And it's this episode where we get the first mention of a faction on the Gamma Quadrant.
Yep. They were trying to set up a business deal, because that's what Ferengi are. They were trade deals. But then they realized, at least Grand Nagus Zek did, that there were rumors of a certain faction that we haven't seen yet. And this is when we get our first name drop of the Dominion. It's like, okay, who are the Dominion? Well, they are obviously powerful. People speak of them very reverent tones in the Gamma Quadrant. They're incredibly powerful. And this is when the Ferengi realize that they're trying to, what they really want is they want to get a business deal with the Dominion. They don't care about this actual deal they're working on right now. It's a way to get their foot in the door. And that's when Quark realizes the Karma are a member of the Dominion, and they are all about trade and trade deals and negotiations and everything. So, but that is our first mention of the Dominion itself. Then we go to Necessary Evil, which is Quark gets shot, which is already pretty wild. So Odo reopens a murder case, and it's all about Mr. Vatrick, who was a collaborator for the Cardassians, but he was the chemist shop, right? He was the owner of the chemistry shop. What's happened? Great episode where at first Odo is suspicious of Rom because he's like, wives serve, brothers inherit. And he's like, wait a minute, so if Quark dies, I'll get the bar? Wow. He's like...
Honestly, I almost picked this as one of my top 3.
It is pretty good. It really is. Especially when Rom shows up in the infirmary and Quark is being smothered to death by the assassin. And then Rom has one of the best girly screams I've ever heard. The
and this alerts people to the fact that someone's trying to kill Quark, and he's saved as a result. He's like, "Oh, I saved my brother."
He's like,
"Oh, I saved my
Rom,
brother."
You can stop. Rom, you can stop talking now. Quark's safe. And he's like, "What? Right? You did it, Rom. You saved your brother." And he's like, "Yay! I saved my brother." He realized he lost the bar.
See, one of the good things about this episode too is it balances like the silly fun moments like that with the whole serious investigation thing, and it's that glimpse into the past that I really like seeing in this show, where, you know, here's Odo in the modern day investigating this murder from 5 years ago that he investigated back then, and a lot of the transitions between past and present are just fucking great.
Oh, absolutely. Like, just smooth. Like, a door will close on the modern time, and then when it reopens, suddenly the lighting has changed, all the characters are in different outfits and stuff, and you realize it's the past. It
Yeah.
is a fantastic episode, very well shot.
Yeah, it is great.
And the premise of this episode too is fantastic too, because it's a list of names that the people are dying because of a list of names. And what they figure out is the list of names was because these are all Bajoran collaborators with the government. Like, with the Cardassian government. And holy shit, that is a big fucking deal. And that's also what makes Odo realize why the Cardassians ever let him investigate anything, why they let him become an investigating officer during the occupation. Like, the Cardassians didn't give two shits about Odo, but Gul Dukat did.
Yeah.
Because Gul Dukat can't be seen investigating this because it'll tip the hand that it's a fucking collaborator. So that's why you needed Odo to investigate it. It is really well done.
And also, I want to say now, any fucking episode where you say, or where you see in the credits at the start, guest starring Mark Alamo, or however you pronounce his last name, you know it's going to be a good episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, I don't necessarily want to say Dukat owns every episode he's in, but he always brings the episodes up.
Yeah, absolutely.
$2 from Just a Guy from Alabama. Thank you. Inmate in hell, but a hero in prison.
Yep. That is a song in reference to a famous hero in Poland who actually intentionally got himself sent to the Auschwitz concentration camp so that he could try to start an uprising from inside of it and report back what's actually going on to Poland and to the rest of the world. It is crazy. And he had to hide his rank too. He had to make sure they didn't realize that he was a member of the Polish Resistance, and that he wasn't currently a member of the Polish Resistance, and that he wasn't a former member of the Polish Army. So he had to hide that fact from them. Yeah, he was a fucking legend. Let's see. Then we go to Second Sight, which is it's an episode where Sisko sees a gorgeous woman and he gets super hot in his fucking pants. he wants him some of that woman. And this woman is actually married to an incredibly egotistical scientist. But he knows he has an ego, but he kind of says, like, it's kind of a requirement in his job field to have an ego, because you're literally... He literally handcrafts planets, for God's sakes. So it's hard not to get a god complex. He even admits to the fact of, like, I understand this is why my wives always leave me, is because I kind of have a bit of a god complex. And I can't help myself. I know it's my flaw. And I like that. This is a character that understands that he is flawed, right? That he is he's somebody who has this terrible affliction, which is that he's an incredible narcissist and an egotist. And it hurts everybody else around him, but he can't help himself. And he knows he can't help himself. He knows he'll never change. Which is also ultimately what makes him make the sacrifice in the end. For the sake of his wife, he kills himself. But he goes out in the most incredible bang ever by detonating his science project in the heart of a dying sun and reigniting the sun's process to bring new life to this entire solar system again. Which is just wild. And he goes out on such a great fucking line too. Even as weak as I think this episode is, that line at the end is like, "Pay attention to the monitors, Commander." And then he said, "Let there be light!" And then he detonates. It is a fantastic send-off.
Then the next one is Sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
A race from the Gamma Quadrant claims Bajor as their legendary homeland of, I guess, like myth and legend.
Katana.
Yeah,
Katana.
Katana. But yeah, it's this whole thing in their cultural legends where there's this planet that they will go to that is essentially going to be their paradise. Or
Yeah,
maybe
it's a
not.
planet of suffering that is saw nothing but terrible pain and suffering, and they will heal this world and bring new life and a new paradise to it.
Yeah. And upon reaching this side of the wormhole from the Gamma Quadrant, they decide that Bajor is this planet. And,
And it fits. It fits all of their previous conceptions and everything. It fits their actual religion and worldview very well.
yeah.
And the thing that's crazy is that the episode isn't morally judging either way, like who's in the right here. They give you both sides of it, like, hey, Bajorans are like, hey, we can barely feed ourselves. Your people want to settle on our planet, our home planet, where we can barely feed ourselves at the moment. And you want to set up in an area that has no farmland or anything like that, that has been devastated by the Cardassians. So what's going to happen if something happens to you people? And then they counter, like, it doesn't matter if something happens to us. You don't need to help us. And then the Bajorans are like, out of being decent people, we'll feel obligated to help you.
Yeah.
So, again, there's no judgment one way or the other because the people, the Skria, or the Skria? It's Skria or something, Skria.
I believe it's Skria, because I have the Wikipedia page up, and it's Skrreea.
Yeah. Skria! they are, like, insanely good farmers. That's their entire culture, is that they are really, really good farmers.
Yeah.
And they think they can make this work. So, but that's what I mean. They don't judge either or who's in the right, who's in the wrong. And that's why I like episodes like this. Because they let you, the viewer, come up to your own decision of, did Bajor make the right call in refusing them, or did they make a bad call in refusing them?
And the Skria, they're a culture of farmers. That's like the main profession from where they come from. So
Yep.
they're extremely confident in their abilities to grow
terraform
crops
and-
on
yeah.
Bajor and be a genuine help to the Bajorans.
Yep. So, like I said, I think that's a nice episode. I don't think it's one of the best. Definitely not one of my top favorites. But I think it's a nice episode, and I like the fact that it doesn't, like, judge one way or the other. It lays out all the arguments for and against on both sides, and it lets you, the audience member, decide what you think. And I like episodes like that. I like when we had writing like this, where the writers trusted the audience member to pay attention and come to their own conclusion.
Now, out of curiosity, because I suppose it's part of the discussion, what do you think the right answer is?
I genuinely think that even though Bajor was hurting so badly, they could have benefited from the Skria.
Yeah, I agree.
I genuinely think so.
Yeah, I
And I think the Skria would have benefited a lot more from the Bajorans as well. Because I don't think the Skria understand... Because remember, the Skria we're talking about, their whole thing was they were dominated the entire time. And they were being devastated. Until... And this is the second time it gets mentioned. The Skria were enslaved by a brutal and vicious race. And then the Dominion showed up. And they absolutely massacred that race. And the Skria fled. They took all the ships they could and they fled to look for the gateway to the other side. They didn't realize there was an actual wormhole, but that's what happened.
And when we get to the final episode, I'm going to talk a bit more about these slight references to the Dominion.
Yes. But, so, like, the first one we realized there's a trading thing with it, and people obviously have reverence and health and fear for the Dominion in the first time. The second time, we get that the Dominion might be incredibly brutal and efficient, because the Skria make, in no uncertain terms, say that the Dominion absolutely massacred this slaver race. So, yeah. We're getting a second. We're slowly filling in the blanks. We're getting little hints about what the shape the Dominion is going to take. 2-month membership message from Jacob Yates.
Thank you.
Whoa, I caught it live for once.
Yeah.
Welcome, welcome.
Hope you enjoy while we talk about this 30-year-old sci-fi show that I'm pretty sure it's beloved, but definitely deserves more attention. Look, I've only watched TNG and Deep Space Nine, but I know which one I think is a superior of the two.
Yeah. I love you, Picard, but in that debate of do I choose Kirk or Picard, it's Cisco every time.
Yeah, agreed. Like 100%. I know I've mentioned this before, but it's worth saying again since we're doing a stream about it. I do really like TNG, and I absolutely love Deep Space Nine. And the thing I noticed between watching the two shows is that TNG tended to have more standout amazing episodes, but it also had more standout fucking terrible episodes. Whereas Deep Space Nine had a more consistent quality, and less often had those really standout good or bad episodes.
Yeah, it was just consistently good.
Yeah.
And there were some standouts, like Duet is an obvious standout.
I'm not saying there's no standouts at all. There absolutely is. Duet, In the Pale Moonlight.
Yep.
Others I'm forgetting right now. But yeah, Deep Space Nine absolutely had the more consistent quality. I have watched a few episodes of the original series, and I plan on watching the rest at some point. I do have season 1 and 2 on DVD. I need to get the third.
Yeah. Then we go into Rivals, where Quark, there's a businessman or a con artist who it turns out to be a listener, and what it does is he has a psychic emanation around him that makes people speak to him. So they'll tell him things even if he doesn't want them to. In fact, he really doesn't want this guy in the prison cell to tell him stuff. But he comes across this device that's a luck device, and it's a gambling thing. You push the button and you win or you lose on it. It seems very simple. But what slowly happens throughout the episode is that each time that you win, it seems like life itself makes you the winner. There's something weird going on.
Yeah. It's what everyone perceives to be luck, where some people start getting incredibly good luck, and other people start getting incredibly bad luck. And
yeah, it's like the universe has to balance itself.
Yeah, it happens to center around this game that Bashir and O'Brien are playing, where Bashir is shown from the start to be fucking amazing at this game, while O'Brien is just playing it for fun, and he's getting frustrated that Bashir keeps like just absolutely wrecking his shit. And then towards the end of the episode, it's like, no matter what Bashir does, it's just impossible for him to do anything right in this game. And O'Brien is succeeding without even trying. Like, Bashir's tennis racket thing breaks just randomly. And, like, both, especially O'Brien, is just like, what the fuck? That's weird. And then they show off to, like, Cisco, hey, there's a problem here because this shouldn't be possible. O'Brien throws the ball a couple times against the walls. It bounces off all the walls and floors. And just holding his hand in place, he catches it. Bashir throws the ball, and O'Brien catches it.
Yeah. And keep in mind, O'Brien's not just throwing it at the same spot and, like, knows where. No, he's literally chucking it to the left, to the right, head, up above him, and it just perfectly comes right back to his hand every single time.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's weird shit happening.
And again, he's not, like, reaching out to grab it, he's not jumping or anything, he's just standing in place, holding his hand open to catch the ball, and it just lands in his hand every time.
Yeah. But what my favorite part of this episode, what's the funniest part, is the fact that Quark sees them playing this game, and he sees that O'Brien's really into it, and Bashir's kind of getting burnt out because Bashir feels bad. He feels like O'Brien's gonna have a fucking heart attack because O'Brien's trying so hard. Even to the point, like, O'Brien is, like, going through rituals and shit like that to make himself pumped up and feel better. And Bashir even has to, like, fake medical emergency so he can get out of playing. Well, Quark is like, this is a very interesting game. There's a competitive spirit here. So he starts like rabble-rousing through the crowds and everything like that. That like, the reigning champion versus the Doctor, who is the new up-and-coming upstart. And O'Brien and Bashir get called down to the bar after Quark has been doing this, and they're like trying to figure out what's going on. And Quark's like, "Here they are, our competitors. The place your bets and everything." And Bashir and O'Brien are pissed. They're like, "You're betting on our game. We're just here to have fun, and you're gonna bet on us?" He's like, "We're out of here, Quark." And he's like, "Okay, but who's gonna tell that to the poor orphans?" And they're like, "What orphans?" And he's like, "Yes, the house was going to donate half of its winnings to the Bajoran War Orphans Fund, and the monks were so looking forward to it." And then he nods his head past them, and both of them turn and look, and they just see these monks, these Bajoran monks are real happy, and they bow their heads and everything. Fucking great manipulation. Holy shit.
It is a fucking master manipulation move from Quark.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
It's so good.
It's one of the reasons why Quark is such a great character and beloved in this show.
Yeah.
Like, again, he's a creepy, weird fucking goblin man, but he manages to be one of the best characters in the show.
He really is. He genuinely, and it's such a great look into Ferengi society, just from his perspective, because he's such an unrepentant, greedy asshole. Like, one of his best ones is during payday, right? He's divvying out the pay because he legally has to pay his employees. And Rom complains, he's like, "Well, I feel like, that the wages aren't fair anymore. I've been working here for a long time." And Quark's like, "You know what? You're right." And Quark was originally counting out, 3 bars for me and 1 for you. 3 bars for me and 1 bar for you. And that's why he was like, "No, this is not fair." And he's like, "All right, fine. You're right. It isn't fair. 1 bar for you and 5 bars for me. 1 bar for you, 5 bars for..." Are you getting it, Rom? Oh, it's great. He is such an unrepentant, greedy asshole, but it's what makes him so endearing and lovable.
Yeah.
Because underneath it all, he actually does have a good heart. That's the amazing thing, because in a lesser show, he would be the unrepentant, greedy asshole who would be the vile villain in everything he does. But the more and more we learn about Quark, you realize that he's actually a really good person underneath it all. That he is Ferengi greedy, but he also helped the Bajorans hide from the Cardassians. He also gave them light work and light duty so that they could be safer, so they could feed their families. He would give them extra rations and everything during the occupation. Like, these are things that are insanely against Ferengi culture and ideology. But that's just who he is.
Well, to spoil a later episode in this season a little, in Crossover we see a bit of the same thing where instead of helping the Bajorans, he's helping the humans, because they're the oppressed ones in that episode. And he ends up getting fucking executed for it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's just an interesting one. They figure out that the machines are causing luck, literally causing luck to change. Which is why some people are getting horrible luck. It's just great where they have a moment where one character will be up there, Dax, she's like, "I found a file I've been looking for months now, and it's just here. It just appeared on the desktop. What the hell? I've been looking for you forever." And then immediately after that, you see Kira try to walk off of the bridge, and she breaks her leg. She fucking hits the walkway and hurts herself and has to get put in a cast. It's like, again, it's the universe balancing itself out. For one to have really good luck, somebody else has to have really bad luck. It's great. It's such a wild episode. Then we get into the alternate. Dr. Mora comes from Bajor. He's a Bajoran scientist. He's the first one that discovered Odo and discovered that Odo was actually alive. And not just a jar of goop. And this is kind of sets up a father-child thing because this scientist never had children, and Odo doesn't know where he comes from. He's the only member of his species that he's aware of. And yeah, so there's a bit of a bonding there, but Odo resents this man beyond belief. But he's too polite to just come out and say it. Well, in this episode, Odo gets infected and he turns into a monster that's attacking people. And it turns out that this is what makes the Bajoran scientists realize that Odo had some deep-seated hatred for him. And it's kind of a brutal episode where the father realizes that the child actually resents them. But also, amusingly, Odo comes to realize that, hey, you were just doing what you could. I shouldn't put all the blame on you. I was being stubborn. I was being my usual stubborn, blockheaded self. So, yeah, that's an interesting episode.
Yeah, and it's just worth mentioning, too. We haven't talked about Odo much so far. He remains great as always throughout these episodes. Of everyone in the show, he might be one of the most consistent characters. And he's great. I really love Odo.
Yeah, I guess that's really another thing we should bring. We'll talk more in depth about it, but just as a brief thing, Bashir has definitely seen massive changes from the first season.
Yeah, because
he's a lot better now.
Just to remind everyone, or catch people up who didn't see season 1, Bashir was tizzy as fuck in season 1. In particular,
he was a fucking constant boner mode at all time.
Yeah, anything that had tits, he was hitting on, and very cringily. Not so much here. In fact, the one episode where he does really get lovey-dovey with someone, it doesn't get cringe. It seems to be him genuinely being interested in that person, and that was the Melora episode.
Yeah. Which again, he does. It's a fantastic new role for him because he's the one that's being the moral conscious now. He's no longer the I want to stick my dick in it, energy that he had in all of season 1. Now he actually seems like he's an intelligent, rational person, right? It's a really, really good change of pace.
Yeah.
Then we get to the Armageddon game, which colloquially is known as the Let's Watch Chief O'Brien Suffer episode. Because their whole thing is that they're here to cut down this horrible, horrible weapon of mass destruction known as the Harvesters, which is a biological weapon that infects people and starts devouring them from the inside out. Horrible, horrible way to die. Brutal. These two warring races finally realize that all they're doing is making more and more of these biological weapons. They're going to wipe each other out. They need to stop. So they get the Federation in to help them destroy it, and they finally figure out a way to destroy this. But the governments on both sides don't think it's far enough. So they execute all the scientists, and they try to kill the Federation. So they try to kill O'Brien and Bashir, who are working on this as well, because O'Brien and Bashir have intimate knowledge of the workings of these harvesters, and they want to make sure that these harvesters can never, ever be done again.
Yeah.
They want to make sure there's no chance, not even a fragment of memory from anybody will be involved.
Yeah, so their solution is to kill everyone.
Yeah. They're literally Black Mesaing their science team.
For God's sake, open the silo door!
Take me with you! I'm the one man who knows anything! Yeah, that's the Chief O'Brien Must Suffer episode because he gets some of the things spilled on him. He gets a harvester. What's great is that Keiko realized that Chief O'Brien is drinking coffee. He never has coffee at this time of day because it keeps him up at night. So I know, therefore, that this recording is a fake and O'Brien is alive, which is what sends the Space Nine crew to find them and everything. And then it's revealed O'Brien asks for a coffee. She's like, "You never have coffee this late." He's like, "Yeah, I do all the time."
Well,
As he has that horrifying moment of, oh my god.
it also has to be made clear that they save O'Brien and Bashir just in time, because this alien species had tracked them down to where they were hiding on the planet. And they get beamed up like seconds before they get shot.
Yep.
The next three I want to talk about, because
Sure.
I really like these episodes. So, next we have Whispers. And it starts off with O'Brien in one of the runabouts, and he's talking about how, weird stuff was going down on the station and everything that's leading up to this moment. And he suspects that something's going on, that like the crew is being controlled or being replaced by some mysterious species where everyone is just acting really, really suspicious around him. His wife is like watching him over dinner, just like completely uncomfortable with him the entire time, like very obviously so. No one is giving him any like information because they've obviously been changed to replace. Something is happening, and Odo, I almost said Odo. O'Brien is going to figure it out. But then Odo comes back to the station, and he informs him because he thinks he can trust Odo. And of course he can. Odo is this beacon of justice, and seems genuinely concerned at first. And then when O'Brien goes to see him again later, Odo was acting suspicious around him. And it eventually leads to... I can't remember what happens exactly. Did they try to arrest O'Brien? And that's when he starts his escape?
At first, they were just, like, saying they're worried about him and everything, but then, yes, they do, like, okay, then we need to contain Chief O'Brien right now.
But because he has such intimate knowledge of the space station, he manages to outplay them at every turn and get a runabout and get the fuck out of there. And, he goes to this planet. I forget why. It's been a few weeks since I've seen this episode. I last watched it with these two. But
it's because they're trying to put together a formal like diplomacy mission between these two. There's peace talks.
And
so Brian was in charge of setting up all the security for the peace talks.
Yeah.
And when he got back to the station, everybody's treating him weird.
Yeah. So that's why he goes back to this planet where the peace talks are being held. And
well, no. They're being held on Deep Space Nine.
Oh.
Because it's neutral ground.
Right.
But he goes back to that planet because he's trying to warn them that something weird is going on and don't send your diplomats to the peace talks.
Right. And when he gets there, he gets shot with a phaser, and they reveal the truth to him by opening a door, and to O'Brien's surprise, O'Brien is on the other side of the door. The O'Brien we've been following for the entire episode was the fake, was the one that had been replaced.
Yep.
And it's
he was a Manchurian candidate. He was going to kill people during the peace talks.
Yeah. And they had created this I'm not sure if it's a clone, because obviously it has his memories and appearance, but it's not an outright clone. Like, they've made changes to it. So even this copy of O'Brien didn't know what was going to happen, and was so true to character that he tried to save the peace talks that he was designed to intentionally fuck up and assassinate people a lot.
Yep.
And it's one of those episodes where it takes on a whole different feeling when, like, you know what's happening, or you know what's going on. It's just a great episode, and I love it.
And it's a really sad ending, too, because his last words are, tell Keiko I love her.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, God.
Because that's the whole thing, too, is because it is such a great copy of O'Brien, that's what the real O'Brien would say in that situation.
Yeah. It was rough.
Yeah, I do really like that episode. But after that, we get Paradise. Where Sisko and O'Brien end up stranded on a planet. They're doing surveys of planets in Actually, it's not even the Gamma Quadrant. It's our side of the portal, of the wormhole.
No, it is the Gamma Quadrant, just barely though. It's very close to the wormhole.
Well, it can't be the Gamma Quadrant because they've been there for years, like a decade.
Oh, wait. No, you're right. Yeah.
Anyways, and on this planet, they find a small society of humans who, well, as I just mentioned, have been there for about a decade. They've been stranded on there. For some reason, technology won't work on this planet. The tricorders, their comm badges, even the ship they arrived on, nothing worked. Well, that's a little weird. But they've survived by going back to the old ways, essentially, where, farming fields, using herbal medicine, all that kind of thing. And obviously Cisco and O'Brien want to return home. They don't want to be here. And they're like, oh yeah, we're going to wait for our people to come get us. They're going to come eventually. They'll find us. And while that's going on, the leader of this little village, Alexis? Yeah, that's what it says on the wiki, Alexis. Yeah. She keeps trying to, convince them to... Well, it's not even convincing them to take on their roles in their society quite yet. It's, work to earn your place here because we're not just going to let you live here for free. But why don't you take off that uniform, Commander?
Yeah.
And she just keeps pushing and pushing to try and get Cisco and O'Brien to accept their ways. And they won't because, they're Starfleet. They don't plan on staying here.
And it makes it so much worse, too.
Oh, yeah. But, Cisco and O'Brien are trying to find ways off, trying to find how to fix what's causing the electronics to not work, basically. And, well, before we get to that, one of the people in the village is sick and dies because the herbal medicine wasn't enough. And Cisco and O'Brien are like, if we had Federation technology, we could have saved her.
This was a very simple disease that could have been easily salvaged with Federation medicine.
Yeah. Like something that wouldn't have even been a concern in the Federation. But yeah, Cisco gets O'Brien to, start searching, and because of that, he gets caught, and they decide to punish Cisco. They put him in the box, which is this, I believe it's a steel box that's locked. And
yep.
It's a hot box. It's in the sun all day, and it's a form of torture. And,
yep. Remember, we got introduced to this earlier in the episode.
Yes.
When they pulled a poor man out of it.
Because
he was shaking and everything.
A loaf of bread or something?
No, he took a candle. A single candle. Oh, yeah. And that's part of when you realize, just how fucked this society is.
The more you learn about them, the worse it gets. And, what's it? Oh, yeah. So after, I think it's like a day in there, they take Cisco out, they bring him to Alexis's office, and she's like, you can have this glass of water if you take off the uniform and put these clothes on. And then she just walks out. He could have taken the water if he wanted to, because no one was watching him, and he didn't. Like, the fucking ultimate Chad, he gets back up and walks directly back to the box and gets fucking in. As, the biggest fuck you possible to her.
He even stumbles, and O'Brien's gonna get up and help, but Cisco looks at him and stares at him and shakes his head and is like, no, I have to do this.
Yeah.
And he gets up, and he walks back in that box, climbs inside, and closes the door, and waits for them to lock it.
Meanwhile, Kira and Dax are trying to find their runabout, which has, blasted off into space. They catch it and notice that there's sunburns on it. Like, it's been burned by a sun because it went so close. It was put on course to get destroyed by Alexis, but she fucking failed. O'Brien finds the device that's intentionally blocking out all the technology from working. And, Kira and Dax are able to find them and get them out of there. But at the very end, there's this thing where Alexis essentially has to admit that she had intentionally stranded them there and
Yep.
put
And
them
that
through
all
all
the
this
deaths
shit.
are on her own hand.
All the deaths are on her, and this is kind of where the episode stumbles, because up until this point,
Yeah.
I really liked the episode. And she is just a horrible cunt. Like, you come to hate her over the course of the episode. And, after
God,
all this is revealed...
I forgot about this part. I forgot
Yeah.
the ending of this episode. I remember liking this episode, so I didn't put it in like my like top or like bottom 3 episodes.
See,
But now that I remember this ending, I think I might swap one of
I
them.
changed one of mine because I remember now.
I'm not putting it in my bottom because it's still a strong episode despite the ending, but the ending absolutely takes away from it. And what happens is everything comes out, everything is on her, all the deaths, all the hardships they've suffered, and it should be clear what direction this goes. You know, everyone returns to the Federation, right? No, they decide, despite everything, that they're better off here, and she was right. For this fucking cultist
even though
shit
it was shown
where she fucked
at
over
the start.
everyone's lives for a decade, got people killed, because she personally decided that, oh, people should live closer
Technology
to nature
bad.
without technology. And the good thing is, she does get hauled away to the Federation to fucking serve time for this. Hopefully they fucking execute the cunt. But
Well, they won't execute her.
Yeah.
No,
They'll
I
probably
know,
put her
I
in
know,
the
but-
present world.
I know, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end, the episode like trips over itself and fucks up by having everyone on the planet who've been living there for so long decide that she was right.
Yeah, which is super stupid.
Yeah.
Because at the start of the episode, they were all like, "What's going on in the Federation? You know, do you have anything from us? Do you know what's been going on? Has anybody been looking for us? You know,
What are the latest fashions? Oh, did this sports team win?
yep,
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, they clearly care. You know, I just can't believe that none of them would choose to return to the Federation, but then at the end, they not only do they not return, they try to defend
And
this
justify
horrible
her.
woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, they try to justify it, and I'm just like, fuck you, fuck all of you then.
Now, I would have been fine with all that. I would have been fine with all that if it had then gone to them being like, you gotta understand, if they had gone on the runabout and they'd be like, you need to understand, they've been under this oppressive regime and this cult for so long, it's gonna take a long time for them to be deprogrammed. And that would have been the way it ended.
Yeah.
That would have
because-
made way more sense.
Yeah, you could have ended it on that note without them stepping onto the runabout. Just that note that, yeah, we're going to do something to help these people.
Yeah, we need to deprogram them because
Um,
they've gone through decades of psychological torture.
And I want to say right now, a few years ago, Razorfist did a video talking about this episode in particular. He's done numerous coverages of individual episodes of Deep Space Nine, but this was the only one I ended up watching, mainly due to time, and it was a really fucking good video. So, after the stream, everyone go check out Razorfist's video about Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 2 Paradise.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely got some things to say about this episode. But, next we get Shadow Play. And, this is a pretty good episode, too. In short, Odo and Dax are investigating a planet on the Gamma Quadrant side of the wormhole. And, I think they discover energy signatures from this one area, and they go down to check it out. And it's, there's a little town here.
It's omega particles, which are very dangerous in Star Trek universe.
Yeah.
So they have to go check it out.
And very rare, I believe.
Oh,
but anyways, yeah, they go down and check it out, and there's this little town here, and, oh, that's weird, people have gone missing. And, they start, an investigation because they're initially blamed, but they convince them that, oh, we just got here on our ship. And to prove it, Odo teleports up and teleports back. And, they start trying to research,
Yeah, because he basically says, if we were guilty, like, why the hell would we stick around and do this farce? We could literally just leave right now, and then he teleports away, he teleports back, he's like, see? I literally could just walk out.
There's nothing you could do to stop us from leaving. But they do their investigation. They talk to this little girl who lost her mother. The mother is one of the people who disappeared. And they learn that, oh, that's weird. These people are all holograms. Because as they're doing their investigation, they learn no one has gone, such and such distance from the town. And when they do, one of the objects they're holding as they're walking past this specific point vanishes, and they realize, oh, that's a hologram. And the little girl tries to follow them, and they tell her to stop. And she does, but her arm is outstretched, and the arm starts to disappear. And when she pulls it back, it returns. So that's how they learn, oh, she's a hologram. Everyone in this town is a hologram. So they say, we could fix the projector to allow all of the missing people to come back. So you hologram people could go back to living your lives. Because they seem sapient enough,
Yep.
So the townsfolk agree to this, and they turn it off. And the whole village disappears, and I really love this shot. The camera pans, and one of the villagers isn't gone.
Yep.
It's this old man.
And it's the old elder. It's the elder of the village.
It's the elder of the village, and he explains that his planet had been taken over, and I'll get to that in a second before Setch jumps in.
Yeah.
And things had changed there, and he didn't like it there anymore. So he came out here, had this hologram thing built, and put in the identities of friends and family and people he liked to live in this little town free from the changes to his society that he didn't like. And at first he's like, yeah, just leave it off. I'll just return to my society. It's fine. And then Kira and Odo... Sorry, not Kira. Dax and Odo are just like, but wait. That little girl, you didn't program her into the hologram thing. You've been here, 15 years or something, and she's only 7? So that means that she's essentially a new life form. And he comes to accept this, and they repair the thing, he gets back into place, and they turn it back on. And that's essentially the episode. All the missing people are back. The daughter is reunited with her mother, and the elder is happy.
He does make him make one promise. The elder, he tells him, when you turn it back on, don't let them know I'm not a hologram.
Yeah,
I don't want to be treated any different than the way I've been treated this entire time.
Yeah, and when he tells us what happened to his civilization, the Dominion took over and changed things. So there's our third mention of the Dominion.
Yeah.
So
the Dominion... So the things we've learned is that the Dominion is feared enough that, a bunch of these other races want to stay out of its way, and they'll just let it do whatever it wants. The Dominion is ruthless and efficient, which is the second part. And then this third one, the Dominion will change the societies that capitulate to suit their need.
That's kind of the thing I was saving for the final episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why I said I was going to hold off on explaining those things until the end.
Well, I had already explained them before.
No, I know, but that's why I said
different.
Initially, too, before you explained the first two.
No. I mean, I had already explained the first two before.
No, I had said before you explained the first two that I'm going to save these things for the end, because that was when we got to the first one. I'd said, I'm going to save these things for when we talk about the final episode.
Alright, fair. There'll be more to talk about anyway.
Yeah.
Then we get into playing God, which is Dax is supervising Arjun, who's a new Trill candidate. So the whole Trill Society is based around the approval, the Symbiosis Commission, which has to approve you to get a symbiote, because getting a symbiote is basically eternal life. You get to carry on your existence. It's not just having a child and carrying on in the traditional sense. It's that, no, your personality, your thoughts, your memories will live on through the symbiote. So, everybody kind of wants a symbiote, so you have to take the best of the best, because it's a very rigorous, tough process. It's very tough on the host, it's very tough on the symbiote, so you can only have the best of the best actually go through and be accepted. So the Symbiosis Commission has to weed people out to be like, you're not going to survive the process, you won't survive the process, you're not compatible with symbiotes, you got to get out of here.
Not just that, but they want that time with the symbiote to be beneficial. Like, the knowledge you have is going to be passed down to your successor and so forth. The knowledge that the symbiote has is going to be passed on to you when you get it. So you're going to put it in your top, like, scientists or doctors or stuff like that. You're not going to put one into Darkseid Phil.
And even then, as gets explained to the episode, you can be the biggest and brightest scientist on all of Trill. You could be one of the best, and you might not be good enough for the program because either your biology doesn't work, your body chemistry doesn't work. There could be all kinds of things that'll kick you out. So not only do you need to be compatible with the symbiote, you also need to be the best of the best.
Yeah. Don't personality factors, I should say, don't personality aspects factor into it as well?
They do. They do. And that's all part of it, too, was, and this is where Dax comes in. Dax is trying to do things entirely different. Well, Jadzia Dax is trying to do things entirely different from what Curzon Dax did, because Curzon Dax actually judged Jadzia and judged her not worthy. Now Jadzia knows why Curzon said no and everything. She knows all this, and she doesn't want to be like Curzon. So she's treating this very laissez-faire. She's being very, like, dismissive of Arjun and everything. Well, not really dismissive, but you know what I mean? She's not taking it seriously, which is pissing Arjun off, because this is, like, the scariest, most important decision of his entire life. And it's just crazy that, how dare you, like, you're all you're doing is being a slut. You're not actually, like, taking this seriously. You're trying to embarrass me all the time. And he actually says this to her face. And that was the first time that he was ever honest. He was no longer putting on airs to do what other people wanted. He was showing who he truly was. Which eventually is what makes Jadzia give him the nod that, yeah, he's ready. Because you need to be able to assert yourself, because you're going to have the symbiote who has who knows how many lives already under its belt. Who knows how many other personalities that will be pushing on your personality. And if you are a nothing, you will be crushed underneath the symbiote. And that's not good. That's not healthy for the symbiote either. So yeah, it's an interesting episode. I think it's okay. Personally, I'm not really, Dax isn't really the thing that really gets me interested in the show, Like, yeah. She's all right.
Yeah. The show wouldn't be the same without Dax, but
yeah,
she's no Quark or Odo. She's not Cisco, especially in the later seasons.
She's not an O'Brien.
Yeah,
she's not an O'Brien. She's not a Bashir. She's not a Garrick. Like, there are just things. She's not a Gul Dukat.
Yeah.
There are people that are more vital to the show.
Well, I think the important thing to mention is that Deep Space Nine doesn't have its own Wesley Crusher or Deanna Troi.
Yes.
Because Wesley Crusher just sucks, and I don't know. I know a bunch of people like Deanna Troi. I never really liked her episodes, but the one exception is the episode where she's kidnapped by the Romulans, and they give her surgery to make her look like a Romulan. That was a good Deanna Troi episode. Like, one of very few Deanna Troi episodes that I liked.
Then we go to Profit and Loss, which is Quark runs into his former Cardassian lover, and he genuinely loves her. Natima is her name, and he genuinely actually does love her. But she is on the run from the Cardassians with her 2 students, and it's because her 2 students are part of a new movement to change Cardassia for the better. They want to have actual change to get away from military control by the central command will no longer be in full control of all aspects of Cardassia. That's what they want. This is what they're pushing for. So they're pushing for the kindler, gentler Cardassia. And naturally, Central Command's like, we ain't having that shit. Fuck you, and is trying to kill them. And so that's basically what this episode is. It's where Quark and Garrick interact a lot.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting dynamic because Garrick actually gets told by the Central Command, by another member who has connections to a specific thing we will mention later, because it's not brought up yet, but you can see that he's a high-ranking member of some organization. So this Gull tells him, like, hey, you want to get rid of your exile, right? Kill Natima and her 2 fucking students, and you will be looked at for a pardon. Like, because originally it's obvious that Garrick has been disavowed by the Cardassian government. It's fucking obvious, right? And this is just laying in more and more to that he has been banished. He's not allowed to come back, and he's very looked down upon. And it leads to a great confrontation because Quark is actively trying to get Natima to stay with him because he loves her that much. And he wants Natima to stay. And he's willing to go to huge lengths. He's willing to risk personal injury and do all kinds of shady stuff in order to let Natima's 2 students escape so that she'll stay with him. And it comes to a great head at the end when Garrick confronts them all and manages to disarm Quark, and he's got them all at gunpoint. And it's just a great discussion between everybody about their ideologies. And my favorite line is when Garrick is like, I've always lived by a simple motto, never let sentiment get in the way of your work. And he looks at Quark, and Quark's like, keep that in mind. He's held at gunpoint. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that advice now? But what's really interesting about this is Garrick is still talking and Quark is still talking. They're still talking about how, Garrick admits that he doesn't actually want to do this, but it has been at the request of the Central Command. But then Quark's like, aha, but you admit that they're wrong. So what do you want to do? And then the Gull shows up and is like, what is the point? Like, what side are you on, or what do you believe, Garrick? Turns out Garrick believes in freedom and a love of Cardassia, so he shoots the Gull and he lets the students and Natima go.
He doesn't just shoot the Gull. The Gull takes his gun away, not knowing he has Quark's gun.
Yep.
And he's going to kill him too because, well, did you really think we were going to let you back in? And that's what Garrick is like, no, I didn't. Then he shoots him. It's great.
Yeah, I suppose not. And then he just vaporizes him. There's not an atom left. Garrick turned that gun all the way up to maximum and just vaporized his ass. And he's like, pity, some people should never be promoted. And then he looks at everybody with a big smile on his face. Everybody's freaking the fuck out because, somebody just died. And he realizes he's holding the gun pointed at all of them. And he's like, oh, and then he puts it behind his back. And he's like, well, what are you doing? Get out of here. And it's a great play because you realize that Garrick was stalling for time. He was trying to draw that piece of shit out so he could kill it.
My favorite...
And then Quark genuinely asked him, like, why'd you do it? And he's like, because I love Cardassia. You did everything you did because you loved Ntima. I have the same love, but I love Cardassia itself. And Cardassia, and it's implied that he did all this because Cardassia needs a change.
Yeah. My favorite episode is the one where Goldacat does literally nothing wrong. Oh, do you mean all of them?
Yeah, Goldacat did nothing wrong.
I do really like Goldacat. He is one of the greatest antagonists of all time, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
I was hoping for a which one?
Well, doesn't matter because it's all.
But after that, we get Blood Oath, which some Klingons show up to Deep Space Nine, and they're planning on getting revenge against the albino who murdered their firstborn children.
Can I just say, what a fantastic, badass one-liner. Look upon your executioners, murderer of children. Holy shit, what a line.
But anyways, these three Klingons were reuniting to take revenge upon the albino. And Curzon Dax had made a blood oath with them that he would fight alongside them to get revenge. And upon discovering that Curzon is no longer with them, it's Jadzia Dax now, they don't want her to be a part of it because she isn't the one who gave the oath. It was Curzon. Even though she does have his memories and essentially a part of his personality within her. And she is adamant that she wants to go along, and she eventually convinces them, and yeah, they take out the albino. It's a very good episode. I like it.
Yeah, and there's great moments too because all of the Klingon warriors are now super old.
Yeah.
These are all heroes of legends from the original series era. Okay?
Yeah,
These are
because-
people that fought Kirk. They are old, they're old men, and they are worried that they're going to die in their beds.
Yes.
Not a warrior's death, but a sad, pathetic death for a Klingon warrior of legend.
Yeah. And this is the first time we really get any time with Klingons in Deep Space Nine. And as Orgus Din says in chat, the Klingon episodes are top tier too. Fucking
Yes.
absolutely. Because it shows greater care to the Klingons, and I think in Deep Space Nine, than some of what we got in TNG. There were some good Klingon episodes of TNG from what I remember, but they also had Tizame stuff like Worf going into the holodeck to be cattle prodded by other Klingons for this like ritual thing.
I can't. I speak of Klingon rituals. I cannot wait for the one episode where the entire crew is going to get revenge on a Klingon. I'm not going to explain anything beyond this, but there has been a Klingon, and he has been a pain in the ass to the entire crew, and this has all been so that there could be a wedding ceremony, because to replay Klingon history, the Emperor and the Empress got married and were attacked on their wedding ceremony and had to fight off and kill a bunch of enemies so that before they could take their honeymoon, right? Before they could consummate their marriage. So, as part of Klingon tradition, the best men are placed in hell. They are put through hellish conditions so that when the wedding comes, they'll attack the bride and the groom, and the bride and the groom have to fight them off. Oh my god, though, when they are ready, you can see the blood rage in their eyes as they are just waiting for the go signal. They're like, now? Is it time? Is it time? Or can we kick his ass?
But anyways, there's aspects to this episode that, again, show the Klingons in a better light than they maybe have been shown previously, where they're not just a dumb warrior race that wants to kill everything. There's more to them than that I really like.
Yeah. That's
Like
kind
the-
of an unfortunate side effect that TNG introduced, is that they're just kind of a dumb warrior race. Even the Klingon promotion became such a meme because of it.
Yeah. I forget which one is the leader. There's Kor, Koloth, and Kang. I forget which one the leader is, but the leader of these three Klingons doesn't want Jadzia to go because, again, she's not the one who made the oath, but she's like a young woman who has her whole life ahead of her. Why should she go to die to honor this blood oath of old men?
Yeah, and he specifically set it up to be a suicide mission.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to die alone in their bed like a weak, pathetic Klingon man. They wanted to die like a warrior.
Yeah. Like I said, fucking fantastic episode. I love it.
And then it's Kang? Is it Kang that survives?
I think so.
Yeah, because one of them survives, and he has to carry on the story of the other two.
Yeah.
It's a very great episode because the whole thing wrestles with Jadzia. Are you going to actually murder somebody? We're not talking about fighting somebody in self-defense. We're talking about you initiated this. Are you going to murder somebody? Can you live with yourself if you do that? Sure, he killed children, but they weren't your children. You're going out of your way now, long after this blood fight has started, to kill him. And she ultimately comes to the conclusion she can't do it. But their leader, the leader of the Klingons, assumes that, thank you for saving the death blow for me. As he's dying.
We should make clear, the leader of this small group, not the leader of all Klingons. That's
he's
another
not Gowron.
character.
Yeah, he's not Gowron.
Oh my god, I can't wait for Gowron to show up.
Dude, Gowron is hilarious. Gowron is such a meme because the actor who plays him knows how to do the wide eyes. And whenever Gowron does the wide eyes, because of all the Klingon makeup and everything like that, and because he has darker irises to begin with, his eyeballs pop. They look cartoonishly massive.
Yeah, I do really like Gowron too. He's great. He shows up in TNG, and that's when he becomes the leader of the Klingons. Yeah. But they definitely utilize him a lot better here in Deep Space Nine, I think.
Yeah, and this will be minor spoilery things. I'm not going to go into too much details, but the Gowron does taxes episode is hilarious. The entire council of the Klingons trying to follow through with tax code violations and everything is the funniest fucking thing. Because you could tell they are just getting flabbergasted. Like, I can't stab this with my knife? What the fuck is going on here? It's great.
Shit, I'm glad Klingons don't exist in the real world. You know the IRS would hire them to be their fucking, enforcers.
Yeah, they're enforcement.
They're enforcers right away. Jesus Christ.
Dude, it's so great. I just love how just completely off. He's like, what the fuck am I doing here? Gowron looks in that episode. It's just like, he's like, you're explaining tax code and laws and violations and creditors and stuff like that. And he's like, I know fucking enough of this bullshit. All right, you have been accused of using money to bring down a great house. Literally simplifies it down to, you've just been accused of using money. How do you plead? It's so good. But yeah, again, that's minor spoilers. I've left out all of the details for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so great because the Klingons get treated so much better here in Deep Space Nine. It is just so great to see them actually have a society and actually take comedy at themselves as well.
Yeah, the writers on Deep Space Nine definitely usually know how to balance humor and seriousness.
Yeah.
And in a way that doesn't break anything either, usually.
Yep. Then we get into a two-parter, which is known as the Maquis, and it's part 1 and part 2. There's literally, it's not like the first 3 where there was a different name for each episode. It's literally Maquis part 1, part 2. And this is where, once the war between Cardassia and the Federation kind of simmered and cooled, there was a demilitarized zone that got set up, kind of like between North and South Korea. Unfortunately, there were some Cardassian territories on our side of the border, and there are some human territories on their side of the border. And this has led to lots of conflict because the human side is not treated well on their side of the border, and the Cardassian side might be spying for the Cardassians on our side of the border. It's just not a good situation. And this is a fantastic episode to highlight that the Federation's flaw is that it is so up its own ass and so, stringent on, but we have a treaty. We have a treaty! I'm holding it in my hand! It's like, yeah, the treaty is a piece of paper, unless you back it up.
Yeah. And, this is a set of episodes where, we get a lot of good time with Dukat, because we've mostly seen him from an antagonistic point of view, and this time he's working with Sisko and crew, and I just, again, like a lot of the interactions, because there's a scene we have where Sisko and Dukat are in the runabout, and Dukat's half of the controls are turned off, so he can't see anything. And he's like, oh yeah, I've already memorized these controls. And he's like teasing and essentially playing with Sisko, playing little mind games and stuff. And then they see some Cardassian ships going after some Federation settler ships. And he immediately goes into fucking business mode where, like, I am Gul Dukat. You will respond immediately, and they don't. And you could see him getting visibly more and more pissed off because they're not respecting his authority. And
he even tells, he's like, Sisko, arm the photons. And he's like, we don't have photon torpedoes.
Yeah, because they're just
he's
on
literally
going to
blow Cardassians.
Yeah. It's a pretty good two-parter.
But here's the part that annoys me about it, and it has nothing to do with Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine sets up the Maquis, sets up this awesome and interesting idea of the Federation has its flaws. These are people that are Federation citizens that are being crushed under the weight of a Federation policy, and the Federation is so inflexible that it cannot understand that it is hurting these people. And this will lead to a massive conflict between the Maquis and the Federation. This conflict is specifically created to set up Voyager. Voyager is the Star Trek show that comes after Deep Space Nine, or, well, it happens kind of midway through Deep Space Nine. This is supposed to be the launching off point of Voyager. And the whole premise of Voyager is not only are they stranded in the Delta Quadrant, way away from anything, they have no idea where they are, and they're trying to get back home, but half of the crew are supposed to be Maquis. And it's like, oh, that'll be interesting conflicts. The Maquis hate the Federation, and the Federation can't understand why the Maquis are being such ungrateful pieces of shit. And it's great conflict, great drama. And it's resolved in the first episode, and they literally become buddy-buddy from then on. It is such a wasted potential. Voyager itself is wasted potential. Oh, God.
Yeah, from the bits and bobs I've seen of Voyager, I don't think I've seen a full Voyager episode, but I've seen bits and pieces. I saw half of an episode like a year or two ago, and I wouldn't have even known the Maquis were involved at all if you hadn't told me, like, directly that that's what the setup was, and they fucked it.
Yeah, you know her first officer, Chakotay?
Yeah.
Mr. I used to be a Native American Indian man. Like, he literally just changes, like, personality based off of what they need him to do that's vaguely Native American-like.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he was the Maquis officer in charge. He was the leader of the Maquis. Do you get a vibe that there's conflict between him and Janeway at all? For, like, who controls the ship ever?
From the little bits and bobs I've seen, not at all.
Yeah. It's so stupid.
I'll probably get around to watching Voyager one day just for the sake of completeness. And when I say for the sake of completeness, that does not mean I'm going to watch Star Trek Diarrhea or any of that shit.
Well, you're not gonna You're not gonna watch Enterprise, which was fucking awful? How about Discovery? Or oh my,
I heard from some people that Enterprise gets better towards the end,
it does with the
but
Time War. It gets better, but oh my god, the damage is done.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
How the Enterprise literally asks you. It makes you question how in the fuck are the oh my god, I want to call them Vorgons. That's the wrong series. The Vulcans. How are the Vulcans and the Federation, like, and humans allied at all? Because holy shit, does Duchess, which is the insulting nickname that people give for Captain Jonathan Archer, because he's a piece of shit and he's fully, he's super self entitled and like my moral superiority and stuff like that. He's a piece of shit. He actively sabotages the Vulcans at every turn and embarrasses them on the international stage over and over and over again. And it's so fucking stupid. It's like, how in the hell have the Vulcans not bitch slapped humanity back? And it's like, know your place.
Wow, that bad, eh?
Yeah, it is real bad.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll watch that. I'll stick to the original series, TNG, Deep Space Nine, and like I said, I'll probably watch Voyager at some point. I don't think I'll go too far beyond the TNG era, though. Um, I do want to finish watching Star Trek Picard Season 3, though.
But yeah, what's interesting about this two-parter is that it sets up a conflict between Benjamin Sisko and an old friend of his who's an officer. This officer defects to the Maquis side and is helping them lead raids against the Cardassian planets and stuff like that. But fortunately for them, Gul Dukat helps. Gul Dukat has a moment where he decides to help the Federation out against the Central Command because the Central Command throws Gul Dukat under the bus and says that it was clearly all Gul Dukat who did all this. We now have information that he is the one that is arming the Cardassian colonists, and it's totally his fault. Don't worry, if the Maquis don't execute him, we will. And it's just like,
Oh, yeah.
Gul Dukat comes back. He's all cocksure after being rescued from the Maquis, and he's like, on Cardassia, trials are very simple and quick. The outcome is already known. Merely the trial is to prove how the deed was done. And so, like, Sisko then likes to inform him that the Central Command said that he was entirely responsible, but not to fear. He will have his day in court after a nice, comforting trial.
Yeah. And that's a good little setup, too, for what's coming.
But it's fantastic. It gets both sides to realize that, hey, we've got to stop funding this war. And the Maquis become more and more terroristic as time goes on. Because they have their plans foiled here by everybody. But the Cardassians also get their plans foiled. So, yeah, it's wild. It's a really good setup. And Deep Space Nine will do a lot with the Maquis later on. But holy shit. It just annoys me that Deep Space Nine is going to do a bunch with the setup that was originally made so Voyager could have a launching off point.
Yeah.
Then we come to episode 22 of season 2, The Wire, which Garrick and Bashir are having their usual conversations with each other, and then Garrick starts having problems as they're having breakfast, and like Bashir gets more and more worried. Like Garrick's skin becomes more pallid, his eyes dilate, and he's clearly sweating really badly. So something's going on. Garrick keeps shoving him off, telling him to go away and go away. I don't want to get too much in this because I'm going to go deep into this later. But this is an episode where Bashir tries to treat Garrick, and Garrick has a device in his head that is a wire that is designed to stimulate the pleasure centers of the brain. And he has had this thing turned on for years now. So yeah, he's it's not meant for continuous use. It's supposed to It's meant for very specific things. I will go into real details on this episode for sure later. But yeah, it is a great episode that showcases not only Bashir and showing what kind of person Bashir is, but also giving you great insight into Garrick himself. Even though a lot of people complained that they didn't learn anything about Garrick, and it's like, no, you needed to pay attention. But again, I'll explain that when we get. Then we go into crossover, which is episode 23. Kira and Bashir, they accidentally go into the mirror universe.
Yeah.
Which is the meme where the mirror universe is your alternate ego, your evil self that will have a goatee.
Yeah. I've never seen the original series episode, but I know the reference. I didn't know the reference when I saw this done in South Park. Knowing where that comes from now is even funnier. But yeah, the Mirror Universe episode. This is a bit of a fun one in a couple ways. I do like the Mirror Universe stuff, but I feel this episode is way overacted in parts.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I gotta kind of lay it down at the feet of Garrick's actor on this one, because Garrick is way chewing the scenery in this.
Really? Because I thought Kira and
Cisco is definitely chewing
Kira.
the scenery hard too. Yeah.
Mirror Kira.
Smiley. Yeah, we're certainly talking about the mirror versions. The mirror Garrick, mirror Cisco, and mirror Kira are all hamming it up.
Yeah, they're hamming it up super hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I guess we could go through it quickly. Our Kira and was it O'Brien? No,
it's Bashir.
Kira and Bashir are going through the wormhole, and they hit a tism. And this sends them to the Mirror Universe, where they go to Deep Space Nine, which isn't where it should be. And they figure out, everything is weird here. There's another version of Kira, and humanity is oppressed. Humanity is almost kind of in the position that the Bajorans were in our universe, but worse and more spread across the galaxy, not confined to a single planet.
Yep.
But the leading powers seem to be the Cardassians, the Bajorans, and were the Klingons involved?
Yes. Yeah, because it was the three powers. There were the three powers. It was the Bajorans, the Cardassians, the Klingons. They made up the three powers against the.
Yeah. And it's explained that because of our Kirk's interaction with Mirror Spock, that changed things. So that's what led to the Terran Empire has fallen, as Angry Danish Viking says in chat. O'Brien gets sent to the ore processing plant, and Mirror Kira is incredibly egotistical, so takes an interest in our Kira. And the two of our characters are trying to find their way back the entire time. And they managed to convince Mirror Cisco and O'Brien to essentially turn on their masters. Because Mirror Cisco, Mirror Kira likes him and has given him a ship, so he goes out and does stuff for them. And our Kira and Bashir get them to turn, and they offer Mirror Cisco and O'Brien, who's called Smiley, to come back to our universe, and they decline, basically to imply that they're going to stay back to help their own universe.
Yep.
To fight back. It's definitely an episode. I don't hate it.
Yeah, it's weaker. That's for sure.
Yeah, it is one of the more weaker ones of the season.
Yep. Then we get the collaborator, which is where there's a Bajoran secretary, and he's named Kubus. He was a Cardassian collaborator, and his entire thing is that he wants to go home, right? He wants to return back to Bajor, and he wants to die on his homeworld because he's been living on Cardassia Prime. Cardassians have been keeping him alive specifically because it's kind of, a taunt to Bajorans. Like, hey, here's this collaborator. He's alive and well and healthy, and he's living well. Now he wants to go home and die with his people. Oh, are you going to really keep him from going there? But there's a great thing because, as it turns out, this is Vedic Wynn trying to play politics. Because Vedic Wynn and Vedic Bareil are actually in a fight to who's going to become the next Kai, which, for the Bajorans, the next Kai is, think of it like the Pope, only the Pope having control over the entire planet.
Yeah.
Right?
To go back to season 1, when the old... what's the role called again?
Kai.
The Kai. When the old Kai died, that we actually saw this in an episode, Kira breaks down and wails at her death.
Yeah.
And this is an extremely important person to their entire society.
Yeah, Kai Opaka is literally what kept the Bajorans from collapsing. She was the one thing that kept them from giving in during the occupation. The Bajorans hold Kai Opaka and the position of Kai as a really sacred position. It is oh my god. You are one of the messengers of God himself, of the gods. Or in terms of Bajorans, of the prophets. But yeah, so this whole time though, Bareil's been having these really awful visions and everything like that, and it's revealed through the episode. Yeah, I will get to this, but it's revealed through the episode that Vedic Bareil was a collaborator as well, at least as far as Kira can find out. And that destroys her because Kira has been big on the bandwagon of all collaborators must die. It's terrible. And Vedic Wynn has figured out that Bareil was a collaborator. And so she's going to use that against him in the Vedic Assembly and make sure that he not only cannot become Kai, but he will get ousted from it. Well, and ousted from Bajoran society in general. As it turns out, though, Vedic Bareil was not a collaborator, but Kai Opaka was. And she sacrificed her own child for the good of the Resistance. But Kai Opaka had actually collaborated with the Cardassians and gave up the Resistance cell that her own child was in so that the Cardassians wouldn't execute 10,000 Bajorans.
Yeah.
And Vedic Bareil knows this. He is willing to take the blame for all of this. He covered her tracks. He deleted all the records. He has made himself the suspect, and he is willing to do that because Kai Opaka is that important. But unfortunately, that also means that Vedic Wynn is now Kai Wynn. So now Kai Wynn, who is shown to be one of the most manipulative pieces of shit in the Vedic Assembly, is now in control of the entire Vedic Assembly, and by extension, a very big player in political power of all of Bajor.
Yeah. This is very much a loss for the good guys.
Yeah. It is a huge loss. And it's one of those things where Bareil, it's Bareil and Kira both cannot bring themselves to reveal the truth because they do not want to destroy Kai Opaka and what Kai Opaka meant to everybody. Because again, she she had to make the tough call. Do I give up the resistance cell that my own son is in, and they will be massacred? I will never see my son again. Or do I keep them safe and watch as the Cardassians will execute 10,000 Bajorans because of me? It was an impossible choice. And she made the tough call to save 10,000 Bajorans, and all it cost her was her only child.
Yeah.
It's brutal. It's a great episode, though. Very,
Yeah,
very good episode.
Pretty good. Then we get another episode of O'Brien dealing with some shit. Tribunal, where Cardassia has accused him of an unspecified crime that he's going to be tried and executed for. And the whole time he's trying to find out what they're even accusing him of. And they say, that's not important right now. What matters is the trial. What matters is
confessing your sins in front of all of Cardassia.
Being legally represented, which means winning isn't the point of being legally represented. It's essentially it's not a trial in the normal sense where evidence is actually produced to declare you innocent. You've been declared guilty already. That's the reason the trial is even happening. They don't have a trial
unless you're guilty. Yeah.
And it's essentially all just a show for morale, where it's like, yeah, we're prosecuting the crimes that are done against the Cardassian Empire. And even through the trial, he doesn't know what he did. But people are coming in and testifying that he's this horrible person, blah, blah, blah. And every little thing is used as evidence against him, too. Oh, you fought in the war against Cardassia.
How many Cardassians did you kill? It was war! We all fought. And I'm sure that you've stopped fighting that war, haven't you? He's like, what? You call them bloody Cardies and everything, don't you? And he's like, well,
The thing, too, is, it would have been a lot easier for O'Brien if he didn't have 2 seasons purely of wanting to exterminate all the Cardassians.
Yeah, because whenever he talks about the Cardassians, he will often call them the bloody Cardies and shit like that and stuff. It is clear he hates Cardassians, and so that is not helping him here in this situation at all.
But
the one thing that saves his life is the fact that they managed to capture the deep operative Cardassian agent who was a plant who actually stole the missiles, because it turns out, the torpedoes, the photon torpedoes, and armed the Maquis with them. And the Maquis have been bombing a bunch of Cardassian civilians and stuff. He's the one that actually did it, and they put the blame on O'Brien, because if O'Brien goes down for it, it makes the Federation look even worse.
Yeah.
But once the judge sees that their operative has been captured, like they literally drag the operative there and show him in front of her face, she goes, but let us remember that Cardassia is also the pinnacle of justice and mercy. So we will extend mercy to the accused. And instead we'll exile him from all Cardassian space and everything like that. And what's so great is as they're leaving, the lawyer for O'Brien's like, what just happened? And Odo's like, relax, you won. And he freaks out. He's like, oh my god, they're going to kill me.
Yeah, because they don't use the word lawyer. They have something else to call him, but he's essentially in place of a lawyer. Their job isn't to win. In fact, the concept
their job is to make the show more entertaining for the masses.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't do it, you fucking idiot. He's like, yes, good. Keep up that attitude. Keep up that Federation arrogance. The people will love that. Like, he's literally there to make the trial as much of a show as he possibly can until you're executed. That's his role. That's his job.
The other thing too that's really fucked up is first of all, before I get to that, I like the moment where the Maquis come in and they outright tell the Federation, the guy you're looking for isn't one of ours. So that already makes it like, oh, what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah.
But then, oh fuck, what is it? Oh, O'Brien finds out that the guy who had recorded his voice to steal the weapons in the first place and frame him, this is someone he fought in the war with. And as O'Brien learns, this guy was replaced by the Cardassians before the war, meaning the guy he thought he knew was dead before O'Brien met him, so the person he knew was always the spy.
Yep. And that leads us into the last episode, which is just called The Jem'Hadar. So Cisco and Jake are gonna go out on a lovely adventure. Cisco's like, I just want it to be you and me. You know, we're just gonna have ourselves a good old time, some father-son bonding experience. This will also allow you to do your science project and everything while you're out there. Well, so Jake's like, well, okay, Nog has to come along because he's failing in that class, and I don't want him to fail. I want him to come along too. So Cisco reluctantly agrees. Well, Quark decides to come along as well because you can't let my nephew go out there unsupervised. How dare you? And it's a ploy because Quark wants to try to get Cisco to relent and let him use all of Deep Space Nine's like announcement systems and monitors to merchandise and sell his brand. He wants to advertise using Deep Space Nine's emergency systems. And this is what's so great about this, and again, minor spoilers for later, Quark's gonna do this scheme again, and it is the funniest fucking thing ever when somebody turns on the command monitor and you see Quark dancing around going, get to Quark's local bar, and we've got brews and all that, and he's going into like a song and dance. And Quark is completely non-flustered as he's being interrogated about it. He's even like pantomiming going along with the little ditty, and it just makes all of them even angrier. Oh shit, I love.
It's also a nice, lighthearted little start to an episode, too, where things go wrong very fucking quickly.
Yeah. So there's a while Jake and Nog are off, because Nog gets pissed off at his uncle because Quark is being a whiny baby and stuff like that, because he's getting bit by a bunch of bugs and he doesn't like being out in the environment. He wants to be in a lavish home, and he looks at all of this forestry and trees. He's like, no, I see lumber mills as far as the eye can see. I see industry. I see massive stockpiles of wood and things to sell off. And he's talking about like how he'd make a business out of this planet. Well, Cisco's like, look at the natural beauty of this forest, of this place. Look how wonderful it is, how we can relax here and everything. And that's, they're obviously completely contradictory to each other. They're butting heads like crazy. So Nog runs off because obviously Quark is embarrassing him. Jake runs after Nog. And while those two are gone, Cisco and Quark are yelling at each other. And a third person comes running up. The person they had no idea was on this planet. And she looks between the two of them and she zaps one of them with a psychic energy attack.
She hits Cisco. And keep in mind, they scanned the planet before coming down here to camp. Fucking nobody was on it. In fact, there's no animal life on this planet either, just bugs. Bugs and plants.
And then she quickly is like, they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and she's like, who are you with? And she tries to run, and they get surrounded by suddenly these giant dinosaur, rhinoceros-looking dudes decloak all around them with guns, and like, that's far enough.
Yeah.
And they take all three of them into custody.
Now, one thing I want to say right now is her blasting Cisco with the psychic power establishes something that'll be used later on. This whole episode is establishing things, and I really like how a lot of it is handled.
Yeah. So then Jake and Nog realize that they've been captured and they have to try to make their way up to escape. They need to escape the planet, so they need to go back to the runabout. They try to deprogram the runabout from autopilot mode. Then this is the best part. I love the fact that the writers actually thought of this. They're like, yes, okay, so we can't leave orbit because we're in autopilot mode, and autopilot mode is associated with the lockdown. Okay, so we need to disable the autopilot mode. So they do that, they disable, and they're like, autopilot mode disabled. And they're like, yes, cool, alright, take us on a path back to the wormhole in the station. Warning, autopilot mode has been disabled. And they look down at all the little things they did to disable it, and they're like, oh shit. Oh shit, we're gonna have to do this manually. And then they realize, as they're trying to manually pilot it, it's gonna take us weeks to get back to the station at this rate. And he's like, at the rate we're going, think about it as like decades instead.
But yeah, at this point, Cisco, Quark, and this other person, she's named Eris, I believe?
I think so, yeah.
They're in a force field, and one of them is about to push up against the force field, and she's just like, don't touch it,
Cisco.
It'll kill you.
Cisco's gonna try to reach it, and he's like, I've never seen an energy field like this before. And she freaks out. She's like, don't touch that. That's a Jem'Hadar force field. And he's like, it's lethal, as everything the Jem'Hadar do is. They are lethal. Don't touch it. You will be vaporized.
Yeah.
He's like, thanks for the heads up.
She now has a collar on her neck, too, that is disabling her psychic ability, essentially, and Cisco and Quark are now trying to get this collar off her. Mostly Quark, because he knows lockpicking. While that is happening, a ship comes through the wormhole to Deep Space Nine, and they put their shields up. A Jem'Hadar teleports in anyways. Okay, that's already fucked. Because that should not be possible. That's telling us immediately that they have far superior technology. They put a force field around him on the command deck, and he fucking walked straight through it as like a power move. So, again, something that should not be possible. So, literally telling us immediately, we are at a disadvantage against these things. And he's...
And just so... Go ahead with that. I was just going to get you a picture of the Jem'Hadar so people can see what I was talking about when I say dinosaur, rhinoceros looking.
Yeah. But anyways, he's here to essentially give a warning. You've been treading on our territory, no more. Here's a list of the ships and colonies we've destroyed. Ah, the Bajorans. You fought well for simple folk.
For spiritual people.
For spiritual people, yes.
Yeah.
And, like, it's just this list of atrocities they've done against people from our side of the wormhole settling in the Gamma Quadrant and exploring and doing scientific missions. The one thing I'll say I don't like about this is that we haven't heard rumblings of this throughout the rest of the season, you know. Oh, hey, there's a report of a ship that's gone missing in the Gamma Quadrant. Oh, there's a colony we haven't heard from for a while in the Gamma Quadrant.
The one thing I can think of is that if it was a coordinated, like, assault, like right now, this is the go time, and they had hit all of these at once, that would be like I could see that as being a thing.
Maybe, yeah.
Because we do know the Jem'Hadar are coordinated very, very well, in fact.
Yeah. But if that was the case, I could excuse it, like if it was something recent. But I still think it would just been better handled if we just heard little rumblings of this throughout the season. Like, halfway through the season, that's the third ship we've lost contact with that should have been back from the Gamma Quadrant that hasn't returned yet.
Yeah.
And you know, it's space.
The colonists went there? or something like that. Like, we don't know. We just think they might have, like, wandered off into the jungle or something for some reason. Like, if they had a Roanoke Island mystery as well.
Yeah, because like that's the thing too. Is it's space. Ships will disappear in space. It's a very big place. There's a reason we call it space, because there's a lot of space out there.
There's there's lots of space in space.
Yeah.
That's why we called it space, to emphasize the space.
But it would make sense that ships would go missing here and there. But like,
Yep.
it's just something I felt should have been built up across the season. That hey, there's just weird things happening in the Gamma Quadrant. Not just that we're hearing a bit about this Dominion thing. That ships are going missing. Colonies are losing long-term contact. We're not getting, Hey, we visit, like you said, the mystery of whatever the place where
Roanoke Island.
Roanoke Island.
Where all the buildings, everything's intact, all the food and everything was still laid out. It's just like the colonists vanished.
Yeah. Or even have a mystery like, what's that ship, the Mary Celeste, where everyone fucking disappeared?
Mm-hmm.
You could even have had an episode like that where, hey, we've detected an abandoned vessel in the Gamma Quadrant that's from the Federation. There's no signs of a struggle, and the vessel's in perfect shape. Everyone is just fucking gone.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been a cool episode to have. And there'd be ways to hint at what's coming up in this episode. But anyways, yeah, this Jem'Hadar gives us warning and leaves. And it's establishing very quickly that they have technology far beyond what the Federation has, and this could be a problem. Possibly.
I love that as a setup, too, because the Federation has always been we're the science-y, outthink our opponents sort of thing. And here's an opponent that is way beyond them in technology. Like, way beyond.
Not just that, but pretty much everyone the Federation has come up against has been on relatively equal ground in terms of technology. Like, if the Federation and Cardassians go to war, they're fairly equally matched. Same with the Klingons, same with the Romulans. There's differences in their technology, but one isn't vastly superior to the other. You still have to deal with the other ships' shields and stuff.
Yep.
The exception being the Borg, which they had their own weaknesses that were... let's not talk about First Contact. But Best of Both Worlds handled the Borg pretty well in that regard. But, and I think that's the only time we've really seen the Federation outmatched before this. Like, dramatically outmatched was with the Borg. But now this Jem'Hadar comes in, and it's like, oh, well, what are these things that are clearly beyond us? But anyways, the Federation decides to mount a rescue mission for Sisko, Quark, and the kids. And they send the Odyssey out, which is a Galaxy-class ship. It's same design and model as the Enterprise.
Yep.
So,
and keep in mind, this is a Galaxy-class ship that has already been through the Battle of Wolf 359, has already been through all these other battles and everything like that. So this is a Galaxy-class that has been upgraded.
Yeah.
So it's not just a one-for-one, it's the Enterprise sort of thing. This is a Galaxy-class that has gone through retrofitting and everything.
And as I understand it, at this point, the Galaxy-class are their biggest ships. Like, Enterprise was the flagship for a reason, because it was the biggest. And this is another in that series. It's like how the
capital ship.
Yeah, it's like how the Titanic had two sister ships that were pretty much identical.
Yep. It's the same thing between the Bismarck and the Tirpitz.
Yeah.
They were basically identical.
So, the Odyssey, they decide not to unload their civilian population because, what are these guys going to do against us? They've got these little ships. We'll outmatch them. And they take the...
No.
Hmm?
They do offload all the civilians.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
She says, you were planning on doing that, and she's like, yeah, you would have been a smart officer. You should think about coming aboard and everything. That's why he says it takes them so long to get ready.
I was sure that they didn't.
No, they do. They absolutely.
Yeah, no, I remember
that's
them.
part of the procedures.
Yeah, I remember them doing it too. So.
Yep, they offload all non-essential and civilian personnel off of the Odyssey just in case.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it took them a few hours, because they were making sure they got everybody off the ship that didn't need to be there.
I'm going to look this up because I'm sure that they kept them.
No.
Well, if they did, that's really shitty of the captain because that means he lied.
Yeah, he got called out for it, and then he said, okay, that's what we'll do. It'll take us a couple hours. Be ready at this time.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure on this because I might be remembering it wrong, but I want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason why is because it's specifically highlighted in the episode that that's what they did.
I'm just trying to skim the page quickly on the fandom wiki, and yeah, it's not saying one way or the other, so I'm just gonna leave it.
Yeah, but no, they absolutely did. Again, like I said, the captain gets called out on that by Jadzia, and then he specifically says, like, you would have made a great first officer.
Because what I thought happened was he said, yeah, but that won't be necessary or something like that. But, oh well.
He agrees with...
Okay. Anyways, they go through the wormhole with the remaining runabouts in the Odyssey. And, they get to the planet, and there's obviously a firefight between, the Odyssey and, the Jem'Hadar ship. While this is going on, Quark manages to get the, essentially psychic nullifier off of, Iris. And she takes down the force field with her mind thing, her mindtism.
Yep.
And Quark holds on to the collar because, hey, I can make a killing selling these things back home.
Yeah, because he even calls out throughout the episode as he's working on it, like, this is an incredibly complicated lock, and also, I've never seen a psychic nullifier that's this small. Like, this is insanely compact. I could make a fortune selling something this size in the Alpha Quadrant. Like, holy shit.
That's the thing, too, is that's believable, considering the technology we've already seen from the Jem'Hadar. This killing force field, the fact that they could teleport through Federation shields, and
that they have
walk
cloaking
through force
technology
fields
on their soldiers.
Yeah. So, it seems likely. And they beam up to the runabout, and they're turning the lever. And keep in mind, the Odyssey is taking heavy fucking damage. Their shields are not working at all. So they're taking direct hits from the Jem'Hadar the whole time. And, as they're turning to go, one of the... there's 3 Jem'Hadar ships there, and they're a lot smaller than the Odyssey. And one of them flies up into the engineering section, into one of the nacelles, I believe. And
no, he flies up into the saucer, which then part of it detonates and flies off, and part of the Jem'Hadar ship spins out and hits one of the nacelles.
Okay. But anyways, the entire Odyssey gets destroyed. That shot of the saucer part of the Odyssey burning as it's flying towards the camera is one of those shots that really sticks with you. Or at least it does for me. Because, this is our top ship. Well, I should say our top ship, but among the best of our fighter class ships. Well, again, it's a science vessel, not a fighter. But as far as fighters go, it's the best equipped. And
it's what the Federation has. It's our top. It's one of our top capital ships.
yeah, and it didn't stand a fucking chance, and they did a suicide run as a fucking power move.
Yeah,
Like,
because the Odyssey was leaving. It was clear that everything was disengaging, that the Federation was running. It was clear. In fact, the Dominion stops firing, and then suddenly one of their ships breaks off by itself and starts just hard charging towards the Odyssey.
yeah. And they make a point of like saying, of pointing all that out.
We were retreating. They didn't have to do that. They're just showing us how far they're willing to go.
Yeah. And then everyone gets back to the well, I shouldn't say everyone. Everyone on the runabouts get back to Deep Space Nine, and including this alien woman, Iris. And as they're getting off the runabout, Quark just says to Sisko, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute in here?" And Iris is up on the command deck with everyone, and they're talking to her, and they're all being nice to her. And then Sisko and Quark come up, and he's telling everyone to get away from her. And
with phaser drawn, by the way.
With phaser drawn. Because the psychic nullifying collar was a fake. There's nothing in it.
Yep.
Because Quark...
It was just a lock.
Quark wanted to sell it, and he found out there was actually no mechanism inside. As such said, it was just a lock. And she's part of the Dominion, too. This whole thing was a ploy to get her in as a spy against the Federation by the Dominion.
Yeah.
And with the game being up, she teleports out. They don't even have a ship nearby. She just... Which, again, shows the level of technology they have, is that she could teleport like that.
Yep. Even more creepy. This is also when they talk about, because they were talking with the about it in the caves, that the Jem'Hadar were like planning to take Sisko and all of them to be interrogated and everything. It's like, because the founders demand it. And it's like, the founders, they're just the myth, a fairy tale. No one's ever heard of it. So with this whole ploy happened, Sisko asks, like, "Are you one of the founders?" And she's like, "You have no idea what's going on." And then she teleports out to kill herself.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if she kills herself or not. She just leaves, because they don't detect anything on their sensors.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, it's not just that, oh, you have no idea what's going on. It's, oh, you think the founders would waste their time on you?
Yeah.
And, yeah. Shit is gonna go down.
Yeah, so that's how season 2 of Deep Space Nine ends.
And it's a hell of a lot better than season 2 of, The Next Generation.
Yeah.
With that fucking Riker clip show episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, chat, that was just a brief overview, and here's more of what I'm personally curious about. Pagan, I'm gonna put you on the spotlight again. What are your top 3 and bottom 3 episodes of the season, and can you give us a little bit of blurb why?
Oh man, I'd probably say my top 3 would be Profit and Loss, because I really like that they're fleshing out Quark and making him more than just the fucking, the sleazy scumbag of the show. And I like seeing more history with him.
Yeah.
God, I keep flipping back and forth between the alternate and Shadow Play.
Yeah.
Because I just really like Odo.
Yeah.
I can love anything with Odo, and I'm just automatically like, yeah, that's one of my favorite episodes.
It is hard not to like Odo. Like, just... I don't think there's a moment of Odo that I outright dislike or hate, because his mannerisms, his attitude, like, just everything about him is great.
Yeah. And my other one is The Wire, just for obvious reasons.
And I got you covered on that one. Don't worry.
Yeah, like, it's just obvious why I like The Wire. My least favorite episodes... God. Rules of Acquisition. I don't really like Rules of Acquisition episode. I liked parts of it, but I just didn't really care for the whole like woman pretending to be a man thing throughout the episode. It just felt weird. I just didn't care. Not a bad episode, but just kind of weak.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Whispers for my second one, but I think I'm gonna change that to Paradise because that fucking ending just pisses me off so much.
Yeah,
The ending
I changed
for
one of mine.
yeah, so I was gonna say Whispers, but honestly, Whispers was a good episode. Even if I wasn't like super into it, it was still a good episode. Paradise dropped the ball at the end.
Yeah. That's the
It
thing.
was like, the way I would equate it to is they were running a marathon, right? And they were doing really well. They were way out in front, and right before they crossed the finish line, a massive Acme anvil falls from the sky, hits them in the head, and plunges them into the ground.
I just imagine that meme where the guy sticks like the bar into his bicycle spoke as he's riding. It's just fucking. That's what I just imagine it as. And then my least favorite, and I didn't even have to think about this one. Crossover. I hated Crossover. Like it is probably the only episode that I outright did not like. Like I actually think it was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not like Crossover at all.
Understandable. For me, it was hard to pick. Well, somewhat hard to pick least favorite because there's not an episode in this season that I outright dislike or hate. Well, I guess I should give Pagan Run before I could continue on with my list. So, unless you were done.
Well,
is there other stuff you want to talk about with your top 3 and bottom 3, Pagan?
the only thing I was gonna say is the reason I really didn't like Crossover was one, it just felt like a filler episode where like nothing actually is accomplished because it's in an alternate universe, which I don't really. I don't like plot points like that in anything. That kind of stuff has always been like a slight pet peeve of mine. But also the acting, I could not stand like Odo and Cisco and Kira as like these fucking like really overacted like stereotypical villains. It just was so weird and kind of cringe, and it just was really awkward throughout the whole episode. It just felt weird. It felt like a really weird cartoon thrown into the middle of the show, and I'm just like,
I didn't mind
no.
Mirror Odo so much, but yeah, Mirror Cisco and Kira were definitely way fucking out there.
Yeah. Odo bothered me a little bit. Not as much as they did, but even Odo was kind of a little bit like, come on. I did like seeing Odo explode though. That was kind of that was kind of cool, but everything else was like,
$5 from Light of the Twin Lamps.
Thank you.
Thoughts on the premise of Michael Burnham as a character, a human raised on Vulcan? Bad idea to begin with, or just poor execution? I'd say poor execution. It's an interesting idea to think of a human who wants to have the thoughts, emotions, and everything like that. Because that's the whole deal with Spock was half human, and he would struggle at times with his human side, his human nature, as it was called throughout TNG. So I don't think it's a bad idea out of the get-go, but it can be incredibly poorly executed.
I don't know anything about Discovery, so I don't have much to comment. Aside from
I'm just judging by the fact that people are like, was it a horrible execution, or was it a bad idea to begin with that it didn't go well?
I don't want to say... Well, I mean, there are some ideas that are outright bad, but most ideas aren't outright bad. Most of the time it comes down to execution, is what I'll say.
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So those... Wait, you said your top 3, didn't you, Pagan?
Yep.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Anything you wanted to say on those?
I pretty well said everything I can. Like, I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna do as good a service to The Wire as Setch will, so I'll just let Setch get into his favorites for that.
All right. Well, I'll give before Setch gets into The Wire. I'm gonna do my list. And I have to scroll up to find where I put that because, yeah. So my top 3 were Blood Oath, Shadowplay, and I did originally have Paradise there. I think I'm going to change that to... Oh god, what was that episode where...
Peer pressure. Peer pressure.
That's
The
not an
Wire.
episode this season!
The Wire. Here, get influenced.
No, I want to pick that one where Odo is doing the investigation in the path. I forget the name of that one.
I almost did choose
Necessary
Blood Oath.
Evil.
Necessary Evil, yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
I almost did choose Blood Oath over the alternate, but Odo won out because it's Odo. But I was really close to saying Blood Oath because I did really like that episode with the Klingons.
Yeah.
That was a really good one.
I really enjoyed that episode. I don't know how much more I can really expand upon it besides the summary given earlier. Because, like, that's mostly all there is to it. Like, I do like the scene where the one Klingon is training in the holosuite, and Jadzia Dax goes in there and gives precise specifications to a Batleth to fight him to earn her way back onto the team, essentially. Like, she has to prove herself for them to allow her to come along, and I do like that part, too.
Yeah, and I do like how, like, she gives that
configuration.
whole... Oh, you stole it from me, you fucking asshole. Fuck you. Can you keep your mouth shut for 5 seconds? Fuck.
Get sniped!
Oh, bitch! I was literally gonna say that exact thing. I was gonna be like, yeah, I love that she does all these coordinates, like all these very specific stuff, and then for him at the very end to be like, a warrior's configuration, and you just fucking sniped it as I was saying it, you fucking dickhead.
I took that football from Pagan's hands and I ran it into the end zone. Doesn't matter if Pagan's on my team. I don't give a shit. I'm the one that's gonna do the end zone happy touchdown dance.
But anyways, yeah, that is a very good episode. As for Shadowplay, I just like the whole concept of this village of hologram people who are apparently sentient, and the old man creating this slice of his world before it was corrupted by the Dominion. It's a nice little episode. And
I think go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I think what I like about it the most is that at first he was willing to let them shut it down forever.
Yeah.
And he had to be talked into turning it back on. Not because he's a bad person, but because he's like, they're just holograms. They can't actually feel. They're not real as much as... and then Odo turns it back around on him and he goes, but I saw how you held her hand to comfort her that her mother was missing. I saw how you felt the fear and sadness on your face that the others were gone. Like, holy crap, man. They're clearly real enough for you to make these connections. And they were real to the point that the computer created new ones.
Yeah.
Ones that you had no influence in creating. They came about naturally, as a child learns from their parents would.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And then Necessary Evil. Again, I don't know if I have much to say on it because we went through it pretty decently earlier. I just think it's really good. And again, because Paradise was on my list originally, we did talk pretty in depth about that.
Yeah.
Again, I do really like that episode until they fuck it up right at the very end. As for my bottom 3, again, I have to scroll up to get to my list. Melora, I wasn't so into. Again, it was an alright episode, but it was easily, I think, my least favorite of the season. Because it was just kind of a meh episode where Bashir and this girl are just kind of doing their thing.
Yeah.
Again, it's not bad. It just doesn't strike a chord. Second Sight is another one where this is entirely coincidence, believe me, but it's the one where Cisco is, I guess, kind of swooning after the fucking magic disappearing lady. And it's got the egotistical scientist. It's an alright episode, but I still feel it's like one of the weakest of the season. Don't hate it. If I'm doing a full rewatch of the show, I'll probably include it, but if I'm just going to sit down and watch a random episode of Deep Space Nine, it's definitely not one I would ever pick.
It'd be the one, if I do another watch through, I'll be like, I don't need to see it, and I'll just skip the one after it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like that with Playing God as well, which is the one where Dax is supervising the troll candidate. Again, decent episode. I really don't have much to say on it because I don't outright hate it, but I just felt it was not great.
Yeah.
Satch, it's your turn.
Yeah, I will do my bottom three first because obviously there's going to be a lot to talk about on the winner of the top three by far. But yeah, bottom three. I had Melora there originally, but I'm going to change that to Paradise because that ending, like I said, it does feel like an anvil dropped on their head. It was really like that ending really does stumble that episode real bad.
Yeah. It's like you've got a really strong 9 out of 10 episode, then you give it a fucking 4 out of 10 ending.
Yeah, it's just, it hurt. It hurt, that ending.
Yeah.
And then Second Sight, basically for the same reason. It's not terrible. I love the way the scientist goes out, and he said, "Let there be light," as he goes out. It's a fantastic way. And a great moment of self-sacrifice. He knew that he could never change. And his wife, the reason that he was so happy with her was because they mate for life. She literally can't leave him. But he realizes that he's making her miserable. So he's like, all right, there's one thing that could change here. You physically cannot leave this relationship. Your entire society will literally ostracize you and outcast you forever. So I'm not going to give you a choice. I will leave the relationship. It's through no fault of your own. I will leave because I want to do something better for you. And it's like, that's good and all, but the rest of the episode is just kind of there. It's just kind of like Cisco being like, I haven't had a woman in so long. It's like, yeah, I know all about your wife and everything like that, and it is time to move. Eventually people will move on, but it just felt weird. It's just kind of like, okay, whatever. And then Invasive Procedures I have as one of my bottom of the bottom, because it was just an episode that was just more of like rehashing that Dax and Cisco are good friends.
Yeah.
But the episode itself was just kind of all right. It was a Trill who got kicked out of the symbiosis process, so he wasn't allowed to have one. So he specifically tried to line up with one that he thought was the best. So he planned all this so he could specifically get Dax. It's just an episode that there's nothing that really happens. It doesn't really go anywhere, and it has little repercussions later down the line. That's, again, very mild spoilers, but in and of itself, this episode could have been cut, and the stuff that happens later down the line still would have been as strong as it is.
Yeah.
So, it's an episode that you could forget that it exists, and nothing would change.
Yeah, absolutely.
As for my top picks, Cardassians
I'll be right back, I'm getting a call.
Okay. Cardassians is the first of my top picks. Not the top. The top one is obviously going to be The Wire. But Cardassians, I liked it because it showcased a different side of Cardassian life. That it was all about family, and family is vitally important to Cardassians. But it also showcased how the schemes were going to play out when it comes to Cardassia, when it comes to Cardassia versus the Federation in particular. That they were going to use this to destroy the leader of the civilian government, because Cardassia has two governments. Central Command, which is in control of everything, and then the civilian liaison leaders that are in control of civilian affairs and matters outside of the government, outside of the military government. Well, the leader of the civilian government is the one that got them to stop the occupation. He's the one that helped bring the Federation in and everything, so they want to destroy him, and to do that, they're going to use his child against him. It's like, it was an interesting play. I liked the way it set all this up, and I liked the fact that, in the end, even though the child hates Cardassians, because he's been raised to hate Cardassians, because, well, the occupation happened, I did find it more fascinating that it wasn't being judgmental, like, one way or the other. It's like, no, he really should go back home with his biological father. His biological father that wept for him, that held a funeral for him, that tried to find him. And, you know, but the Bajorans that took him in aren't bad people either. Like, their circumstances and their reason for raising him the way they were was understandable. And I liked that it was to show off that Gul Dukat is not your Saturday morning cartoon villain who lays out all of his plans blatantly. This was a plan that took a lot of cunning and was in the works for years. So, yeah, I just liked that. And I liked how it all unravels when they realize that the child was given to this adoption center by a member of the officer corps that was associated with Terok Nor. And then Bashir lays a perfect trap, and he's like, have you ever heard of a designation, an outpost named Terok Nor? He's like, Terok Nor? Well, it's here. It's this outpost. He goes, well, that was interesting, because one of the officers that was directly associated with the command of Terok Nor was the one that handed him into the adoption agency. And who was the head of Terok Nor? Who was the head of operations here? And Gul Dukat gets pissed and storms out of the room. Bashir smiles and he goes, for the record, the officer in charge of Terok Nor was Gul Dukat. And it was a perfect setup for how the politicking and scheming is going to go throughout all of Deep Space Nine. What you see is not what you get, basically. Number 2 on my top ones is definitely Collaborator. I liked it a lot. I especially liked it that Vedic Bareil sacrificed himself, and it was a tough call, because I honestly think he made a mistake. He should have sacrificed Kaiopaka. He should have told the truth about Kaiopaka, because Vedic Wind becoming Kai is a massive loss for everybody. But I like the fact that everybody recognizes that it's a massive loss, and that Vedic Bareil cannot bring himself to besmirch the good memory and name of Kaiopaka. He cannot do it. He will gladly be the demon cast into the pits of hell. He cannot let anybody think ill of Kaiopaka. And I like that it's not treated as he's in the right. It's treated as a terrible blow that he's in the wrong, but it fits his character. It fits him as a person. He is a good person, and he can't bring himself to take away all of the Bajoran people's martyr, their mother figure, from them. He can't do it. And Kira comes to the same conclusion. She can't do it either. She can't bring herself to reveal that Kaiopaka turned Collaborator. That's what I think it's such a great episode, because it doesn't offer, like, no, you know, the good guys must win because they're doing good and noble things. It shows that life is complicated. Life is messy. And you're not always going to win. And this was a huge loss for the good guys. This was a huge loss. And that's why I like Collaborator a lot. And then, of course, without further ado, and with no further fanfare, The Wire. Which, I'm just going to say, I'm a huge Garrick fanboy. I really am. It is hard for me not to have Garrick on top of my best characters of all time list, for sure. And oh my god, The Wire is just so good because there is so much given away in it of Garrick's character and personality and of Cardassia as a whole. So the episode starts with Bashir talking about how he was kind of bored reading one of Cardassia's greatest written achievements ever. This is a book that all Cardassians take pride in. It is chronicling multiple generations of a noble Cardassian family. The book is called The Never-Ending Sacrifice. And as Bashir sums it up, he takes away all the substance of it, and he gets to the heart of what the book is about. It's about somebody rising up loyally and flawlessly giving their duty in service to the state, then dying, and then their next generation rises up and loyally and flawlessly gives their duty to the state, and then they die, and then the next generation, and so on and so on and so forth. And Garrick is like, the repetitive epic is one of Cardassia's highest forms of literature. Well, it's a great notion of what Cardassia believes in. It believes in the never-ending sacrifice. And again, it's a play on the fact of that's what Garrick is. We've been getting hints and pieces of it in the first 2 seasons, but now Garrick is literally living out the never-ending sacrifice. He believes in Cardassia and loves Cardassia that much that he will obey his exile. He will never set foot on Cardassia unless they will invite him to, because he loves Cardassia that much. And then his implant starts malfunctioning because it was never meant for constant use. And at first, Bashir thinks it might be a punishment device. But Garrick laughs at that notion because it's not a punishment device. In fact, it's supposed to make him immune to being punished. That's what the device is intended for. When Garrick feels pain, the device is supposed to give him pleasure. I know that sounds, but basically, it's supposed to make him immune to torture. Right? As you're putting bamboo shoots underneath his nails or drilling into his kneecap or whatever, it's supposed to be releasing endorphins to keep him level, to keep him from, like, cracking and giving up information. And Garrick doesn't want Bashir to help him at all throughout this entire episode. He does not want Bashir touching him. He doesn't want to deal with Bashir. He wants Bashir to go the fuck away. And so to do this, he is going to give a story to try to push Bashir away from him, to force Bashir away. Because Bashir is doing his usual, very noble Federation ideals, that he is a doctor and you're his.
Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Hello?
Here?
Hi.
My audio died for a second.
Nice.
Last thing I heard was Bashir's doing the noble doctor thing.
Yeah, he's doing the noble doctor thing. Essentially, he's like, you are my patient, I'm your doctor, I will treat you no matter who you are. And then Garrick says, you need to know exactly what kind of person you're trying to save. So he gives his first story. He says, during the occupation, I was a Gaul in the Cardassian Mechanized Infantry. We were stationed just outside the Bajoran capital. Shortly before the withdrawal, a handful of Bajoran prisoners escaped from my custody. My aide, a man named Elam, tracked them to a Cardassian shuttle about to depart for Terok Nor. Elam got aboard, but the captain refused to let him search the ship, because he claimed he was under strict orders from Gul Dukat himself to depart immediately. So I had the shuttle destroyed, killing the escapees, Elam, and 97 Cardassian civilians. I followed my orders. None of those prisoners escaped off of Bajor alive. Unfortunately, as it turned out, one of the passengers on the shuttle was the daughter of a prominent military official. I was stripped of my rank and commission and exiled from Cardassia. So there you have it, Doctor. I hope I haven't shattered too many of your illusions. That is the story that he tells him. Bashir says he doesn't care. You are still my patient, and I will still treat you. He doesn't care. So this first story didn't work. It didn't get Bashir to leave him alone. So Garrick is going through withdrawals now, as he's trying desperately to kick the habit. He's trying not to use the device. He is suffering. He is in incredible amounts of pain. He's starting to sound delirious. He is talking to himself. He is not doing well. So then Bashir comes in to try to help him some more and wants to get him to the infirmary. But now Garrick really wants Bashir to piss the fuck off, to go away. He doesn't want Bashir anywhere in his sight. So he tells him the story again. But he says that, it wasn't that he blew up the shuttle. His crimes were so much worse. He let them go. And then he goes into the story of, it was the eve of the Cardassian withdrawal. Elam and I were interrogating 5 Bajorans. They were children, Doctor. None of them were older than 14 years old. They knew nothing. They lived in bombed-out rooms, scrounged for food on the streets. They were filthy and they stank. The room was freezing cold. The air was like ice, and suddenly the whole exercise seemed utterly meaningless. All I wanted was a hot bath and a good meal. And so I let them go. I gave them whatever latinum I had in my pockets, and I opened the door and I flung them back into the streets. Elam couldn't believe his eyes. He looked at me as if I were insane. I was a fool. I should have completed my interrogation and turned them over to the troops for execution. But because I was chilly and my stomach was growling, I failed in my duty and destroyed everything I had worked for. So there's the second story. The first story didn't work, where he was the Cardassian following orders and he killed civilians and innocents to follow those orders. Now the second story, he is a man that regrets the good deed he did and instead should have continued on. He knows that he was wrong, and the truth is that he should have carried out the interrogation and followed up with an execution. Again, he's trying to push away Bashir. Bashir doesn't have any of it. So Garrick literally attacks Bashir. He straight up attacks him.
Yeah, they get in a fight.
Yeah. And then Garrick starts having a seizure because his body is literally like decaying because it's so used to the super heightened amounts of endorphins that he literally can't function. He's not just going through withdrawals. His body is shutting down because of it. So now his third story, he's in the med bay. He can no longer resist. He is crippled. He can barely speak. He is on life support at this very moment. And he has been told, he can overhear the doctor. Bashir is talking to one of the assistants, one of the medical assistants. And they're like, okay, well, we need to give him some new leukocytes. We need something like that. Can we make them? No, it'll take us a couple weeks. By that point, he'll be dead. So what if we turn the machine back on? And he says, no, I don't want that thing ever turned back on. And so he says, I have something to tell you, Bashir. And Bashir's like, what? And he's like, the truth. Well, I've given up on ever getting the truth out of you. Oh, believe me, my dear doctor, patience has its rewards. Elam wasn't my aide. He was my friend. We grew up together. We were closer than brothers. For some reason, Anabran Tain took a liking to us. Before long, we were both very powerful men in the Obsidian Order. They called us the Sons of Tain. Even the Gulls feared us. And then there was a scandal. Someone in the Order was accused of letting some Bajoran prisoners escape. There were constant rumors of who was going to be implicated. Fingers were being pointed at me. By then, Tain had retired to the Arawat colony. He couldn't protect me, so I panicked. I did everything in my power to make sure that Elam was accused instead of me. I altered records, I planted evidence, only to discover that he had beaten me to it. Elam destroyed me. Before I knew what was going on, I was sentenced to exile. And the irony is, I deserved it. Oh, not for the reasons they claimed, but because of what I had tried to do to Elam, my best friend. That is his third story. Now, what's interesting is that all of these stories revolve around a similar theme and concept. But even better is Bashir, on hearing this story, gets an idea of he knows how to save Garrick's life now. He knows. He needs Garrick's medical records. He knows where to go get them. So he goes and takes a runabout, and he flies into Cardassian space. And he goes to the Arawak colony, and he confronts Enabran Tain. Tain jokingly laughs about how he hoped that the crossing guards didn't give him too much bother. He called the guards and told them that the doctor would be coming. Enabran Tain is retired from the Obsidian Order, but clearly he knows what the fuck is going on. He knows what's happening. And he says, "Would you like a drink, doctor?" And he says, "Sure." All right. He goes to his replicator. "I'd like Tarkalian tea, extra sweet." And the doctor's like, "I always like Tarkalian tea." A good host knows the needs of his guests. Again, Tain is basically explaining that even though he's retired, he is an insanely powerful, influential man who knows what's going on. To which even Bashir says, that Cardassian, Bohica, who Bohica, I forgot to mention, was a Cardassian that was trying to get a wire technology so that Garrick could get a replacement wire, so that he wouldn't need to go through all of this. He could just get a replacement wire and get it fixed. So he needed this replacement technology, and he needed the schematics to actually put it in. Bohica tries to get the technology through the actual proper channels, and it actually alerts the Obsidian Order that somebody accessed it because the file itself is classified. The fact that he knows the file number means he's in big trouble, and he freaks the fuck out because now he knows the Obsidian Order knows he did it. He's hoping that it won't be traced to him.
That's the one that Quark talked to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because Elam was because this whole thing was a ploy for Garrick to try to talk to Quark and get this through. So all of this happens, and Bashir's like, Garrick is dying, and Enabran Tain's like, and you're trying to save him. That's right. Huh, that's funny. I thought you were his friend. I suppose I am. In that case, you should let him die. Because life in exile for Garrick is no life at all. But then he says, you know what? I will give you everything you need and seek after. And he's like, oh, thank you. Like, why would you do? He's like, oh, I'm not doing it for you or for Garrick. I don't want Garrick to die. I want him to live his rest of his life in exile, alone, knowing that he can never come home and nobody wants him. And he's like, what a lovely sentiment, and it's from the heart, I assure you. And then Bashir, before he's leaving, asks him one simple question. He's like, before I go, I have one more question. Garrick mentioned a man named Elam. Can you tell me what happened to him? And to which point Enabran Tain laughs, and he goes, that man has a rare gift for obfuscation. Never tell the truth when a lie will do. Doctor, Elam is Garrick's first name. Now run along back to Deep Space Nine. And please, tell Garrick I miss him. So yeah, so all those stories, when he was talking about his friend, his aide, Elam, everything like that, Elam was Garrick. Elam and Garrick are the same person. So what does that tell you about the stories? Well, we know the stories are lies because he changed to 3 different stories as it went through. But as Garrick gets confronted by Bashir, he's like, what I want to know is, of all the stories, which of them true and which of them were lies? He goes, my dear doctor, all of them were true. Even the lies, especially the lies. So the thing that most people miss in this is that Garrick is actually giving him all the information he needs to save Garrick's life. All throughout all of these stories. One, he's explaining how he got put into exile. It's clearly he did something against Gul Dukat, and it involved Bajoran prisoners. Right? And it's very likely that he did, in fact, let Bajoran prisoners go. And in direct violation of Gul Dukat's orders. But even better, remember his story, especially his last one. Garrick is laying on the table knowing he is going to die unless he gets the medical information. There is only one person in the entirety of Cardassia who has Garrick's medical information. That is Enabran Tain. So he tells him the story about how Elam was his friend, how they were the sons of Tain, which that'll come back later, and how that the Gulls feared him, that he was a high-ranking member in the Obsidian Order. But when this scandal happened, Anabram Tain had already retired to the Arawath colony. Boom. He just told Bashir where Anabram Tain is, what colony he's on, and where to go get him. That is how Garrick operates. You have to read between the lines and put all the pieces together, and that's why I like Garrick so much as a character. And that's why I like Garrick's episodes so much whenever they come up, is because you have to read between the lines. What you see is not what you get.
Yeah, Garrick
and that is why I think The Wire is such a good episode. Holy shit.
Yeah. I almost kind of want to say it's the duet of this season, though I still think duet is... I'm not sure they're comparable, because duet has that more emotional pull to it, where this is just...
And duet, the message and the themes and story are more obvious, right?
Yeah.
So more people can understand it. It has that, it can, more of the audience can be drawn in and understand.
Yeah. But
in The Wire, there's a ton of depth, but it's all you have to dig for it. You have to look for it. You have to understand the pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah. But more of what I'm getting at is Duet was the standout episode of Season 1. This is easily the standout episode of Season 2. There's a lot of good episodes in Season 2, but this is kind of the one.
Yeah. It's just so... It's just so good, too. I love the fact that that beautiful reveal, Dr. Elam is Garrick's first name. It is so good. Yeah, Pagan, did I do it justice? Did I do justice to The Wire?
Yeah, you did.
No, do it over.
Okay.
No,
so
please,
no.
Bashir
No.
and Garrick are having breakfast.
Cree, why would you even tempt fate like this?
Yeah, we got through all that a lot faster than I thought. There's still a few things to talk about, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, we made good time on that this time.
Yeah. I think this is a better way just to do these breakdowns in general.
Yeah.
Or stuff, because we get the information out there, and then we can go into hard details on stuff that really stood out for us.
At least for bigger shows like this. For other shows that are shorter or more involved, it would make sense to do a scene-by-scene breakdown. Like, it's almost kind of necessary for something like Edge Runners, where it's not so much here.
Yeah, I agree.
So
yeah, I guess that's the episodes and stuff. But I guess who, Pagan, in your opinion, is the most improved character of that season?
Ooh, the most improved. I think by default I'm gonna have to say Bashir, just because he's not fucking insufferable anymore.
That's kind of my answer too.
He's not constantly trying to stick his dick in every wall socket that there is on the station.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing too. As good as Bashir was in this season, he still improves in later seasons.
Oh, God, I cannot wait until we get to the later seasons. Holy shit.
Which character are you most interested in going forward? Not just of the crew, but like the entire show so far.
Yeah, is there any character that you really, really want to get more episodes of? You want to learn more about them? You want to see more stuff about it?
Well, I'm gonna have to just exclude Quark and Odo, because they're basically gonna be they're always gonna be like my fucking go-to answer for that. So ignoring those two, probably Garrick, because he's just the one I care the most about right now. Jadzia Dax is fine, but I'm not that invested to see where the character goes, if it goes anywhere. Same with Kira. I'm just like, good character, but again, I'm not really that super invested in where her character might go. I mean, I am, but nowhere near as much as like Garrick or Gul Dukat. I'm just more interested in what goes on with them. I really want more episodes with Gul Dukat because what little we got from him in season 2 really made me go, "Oh man, I want more of that."
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could see why we talk so well about him, because you kind of barely see him in season 1, and we get more of him in season 2 for sure, but it's still like little bits and pieces here and there. And you could tell there's so much more to this character than what we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the interactions between him and Cisco during the during the rebellion stuff, and just him being like, like when they pull over the ship and basically he goes into, okay, we're gonna basically kill all of you unless you do what we say, just
Yeah.
because because the Federation are just too
They're too
they're too
nice.
yeah, they're too nice. They can't get what they want because they're not being forceful enough. So Gul Dukat's just like, get the fuck over, Boy Scout. Like, oh, I'm gonna kill all of you unless you do exactly what I say, and
He
it
goes,
fucking works.
But you're a Cardassian. I'm not just a Cardassian. I am Gul Dukat. I was just like, oh god. He goes, or I will blow up your entire fucking ship. 5. Wait, but it doesn't make any sense. 4. But we're doing what you want. 3. All right, my shields are down. Just please, please.
Yeah, and that's a character that works really well when he's in his, like, kind of goofy playing with his food mood. And
Yeah.
his, okay, time to fuck around is over. Now it's time
Yeah.
to find out.
Yeah, you fucked around. It's time to find out.
He's got 2 modes, and both of them are great.
Yeah. Oh god. As for me, most improved
Well,
character because.
I had one more question.
Oh, okay.
Which character did you like the least through the season? I'm not talking about, like, random
Yeah.
one-off character like Melora, but of the entire cast, which did you feel was the weakest or you liked the least?
Ooh, let me think about that one.
Because that's a thing. I mentioned it earlier. TNG has Wesley Crusher and Deanna Troi. This show doesn't really have those characters where, if I had to pick which one I think is the weakest or I like the least, at least so far in the show, up to season 2, it's a hard choice because it mostly amounts to not which character I dislike the most, but which character I like the least, which are 2 different things.
Yeah, that's how it would have to be for me too, because I can't really think of any that I dislike.
Yeah.
I just would have to go with like who was the weakest this season.
Yeah.
I think either Dax or Kira.
Yeah, so far I'm kind of leaning the same. If we're being fair
Yeah.
and, like, excluding Jake and Nog and stuff.
Oh, because I was gonna pick
Yeah.
Jake, but that's fair. It
Jake-
is. They're not really main cast. They're kind of like the B cast, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's kind of the weird thing, is because even Garrick and Ducat, well, it makes sense that they have more important roles, but I would include them in the list of characters for consideration, even though, you'd never consider them among the worst. But just of the
Yeah.
list of characters that would be qualified. Whereas Jake and Nog are like, yeah, but they only have, like, what, 20 minutes of screen time throughout the entire season?
Yeah. And they're acting as they should. They're children, right?
Yeah.
They're still they're young adult men essentially. So they have the usual like warning. There are 2 ships approaching. Come on, phasers! Do everything! Fire torpedoes! And he's like, calm down, dog, calm down.
I like the fucking Jake outing himself that he's into a Dabo girl to his fucking father.
You want a Dabo girl? I love that.
But you said O'Brien told you. I said no such things.
Alright, your turn, Satch.
So, most improved. Like if I exclude Bashir, because obviously they rebooted his character, right? They're like, okay, God, Jesus Christ, the fact that he was trying to fuck a wall socket is real bad. So they reboot his character. I would have to say Rom. Rom is the most improved character.
I do really like Rom in this. I like Rom overall. Like, I mentioned the whole thing earlier about Quark being this weird little goblin creature that's somehow endearing. But
Yep.
then you have Rom, who is also a weird little goblin creature, and he's also very endearing.
But in a totally different way, because
Yeah.
he clearly okay, Rom is 1,000% autistic. Okay? He's got the Rain Man autism though, alright? And it's shown in Necessary Evil. Like, he's not very smart with business or anything like that, but he's like, oh no, I can pick the lock in about 3 seconds. Honest, brother. He's like, oh, how did you learn to pick this lock? Well, sometimes you take the storeroom key with you, and I need to get in there to pay for things and, allow things through for day-to-day commerce of the business. So I have to go in there and get into it. And then he's like, what bullshit? He goes, and then he unlocks the door in 3 seconds, and Quark looks at him, and he's like, thief! And he's like, brother, I would never! He goes, don't play dumb with me. And then they go up to the wall panel, like, now, how are we going to get this wall panel off? And Rom starts going, well, see, sometimes I need to pay the Davo girls and stuff because you forget, and it is part of our business license, so I have to get into your safe. So I just do this here with your floor safe. and he's like, you've gotten into my floor safe? He goes, yeah, but I always pay for the damages with my own money and get it replaced before you even know. It is so good, but again, it's setting up the fact that Rom is obviously an autistic Rain Man. He seems dumb and aloof and not all there, and he does have lots of moments where he's not actually paying attention to what's going on. But he's clearly hyper intelligent in different areas. He's literally the character that maybe has like a 10 in intelligence, like a 3 in charisma sort of thing, but his intelligence is all stacked into like very specific fields up to 100, and then everything else is down in like the 10s. He's very much a master of one sort of deal, right? And that's what kind of makes him endearing, is the fact that he is clearly highly skilled and capable and intelligent, but he's not intelligent in the ways that Quark is intelligent. Quark knows how to manipulate people. Quark is very charismatic. He knows how to do business dealings and everything. He knows how to read between the lines and stuff, whereas Rom doesn't.
The fucking idiot savant.
Yes, he is absolutely the idiot savant. He really is. That'll become even more relevant later. And I'll just... Cree will understand when I say self-replication. Like, holy shit.
I can't
Holy
fucking wait.
shit. Yeah.
Oh my god. Because that is definitely a fucking moment. Jesus Christ.
There is a reason why Rom might be one of the smartest characters ever. Holy shit. But he just has no social graces or anything whatsoever. He is literally like the Dr. House / Sherlock Holmes sort of smart, where he is completely socially inept and awkward. But my God, when he needs his brain working on certain problems, it is working at 1,000%.
God, I fucking hate Dr. House.
Yeah.
You brought it up, and I just like, oh my God, like, fucking lupus.
Yeah, it's never lupus.
So
It actually is lupus this one time.
So I tried watching that show. So, like, I've seen episodes here and there while it was originally airing, and then I think it was actually after the first time I watched DS9, I tried to watch through House. I got to the end of the first season. I was like, that's just the same shit over and over again. Like, I like the character of House, but then, like, just the formula for the episodes was the same thing every time.
Yep.
And I
yeah,
got
also
tired of it.
anyone who has like any knowledge, like any medical knowledge, watching that show gets like a fucking brain aneurysm.
Yes.
I
watching
think
that
you
shit,
mean they
'cause-
get a lupus, okay?
Yeah, they get a fucking lupus.
Yeah. Let's see. As for least favorite character, I would have to go with Dax as well. For it's again, I would miss her if she was gone, but if I lived in an alternate reality and Dax didn't exist, I'd be fine. You know,
Yeah.
I think the show would be fine. Not maybe not so much later on, but when it comes to season 2, like Dax even being there was just kind of like, oh, she's there too.
Yeah. It definitely feels like she's there at this point more to fill a role than to be a more fleshed out character.
Yeah, she's just there to be the science officer. That's it.
And it's kind of unfortunate that we did get Invasive Procedure when we could have gotten a different Dax episode that might have elevated her, you know?
Oh yeah, I cannot wait. There's some stuff coming up down the pipeline that I cannot wait for, and a lot of it does really help reinforce Dax quite significantly.
As for my most improved, I'm honestly split between the two answers, Bashir and Rom, because Bashir is almost kind of a default winner just because he was so Tizamy in season 1, and here he's like an actual character, you know?
I so wish every time we talk about Bashir in season 1, I could just play the music clip. Oh, me so horny. Oh, me so horny. Because that's literally what his characterization was in season 1. Like, Jesus Christ, like, oh, Dax, what's that game you're playing? It's a concentration sphere. You have to keep concentrated on it at all times. And then he goes, okay, well, how do I play? And she puts her hands on his head, and he's like, cold hands, but warm heart. It's like, oh, God, stop it. Stop.
It honestly would have been less cringe if he just came out and said, hey, do you want to fuck?
Yeah, if he had just pulled the fucking scout from Team Fortress 2, hey, we both got buckets of chicken, you want to do it? Like, holy shit, it would have been so much better. Everyone that doesn't know that, yes, there's a lot of deep lore behind Team Fortress 2, and Scout was a girl's man. All right, that's his whole point. Yeah, and the fact that the lady says, "Man, okay." No, spy, but you are a master with the ladies. And if you don't know that bit of lore, watch Expiration Date. Holy shit, it is a fantastic. I cannot believe that didn't get made into an actual series.
I can't either. How the fuck can you take all these shorts, especially with Expiration Date, and then not say, like, we hit fucking gold? Like, there was no way that this would not have worked as a great fucking series.
Yeah, because all the characterization for each of the playable characters, but also Miss Pauling and the announcer and the I forget their last name, but Redmond and Blue whatever.
Plutarch.
Like,
yeah, it's Redmond Man and Plutarch Man.
Right, Man. And Saxon Hit, like, they all have great characters. Like, literally throw them into a room and you're going to get something fucking amazing.
Yeah, here's the even best part of this. There are people that do reaction videos to the fucking Team Fortress 2 Meet the Team and to Expiration Date today. Like, today, that get hundreds of thousands of views. Okay? There is an interest there. Holy shit, and it's still going.
You want to know the funniest thing?
What's that?
When did the first Meet the Team video come out?
2000s. Oh god, I don't know.
Okay, let me put it this way. We're just a couple
2006.
We're just a couple years away from people being born after Meet the Team who are going to be reacting to Meet the Team on YouTube.
Yeah, dude, TF2 not being picked up into
2007.
a series. Oh, 2007? Okay.
Yeah.
But TF2 not getting picked up into a series will always be one of those things where I will look back and be like, God, like, that is something we should have gotten. Like, I feel like out of everything that could have been, that is going to be the one that is going to, like, haunt me the most that we don't get, is that one.
Yeah. And they're great, like, to show how wonderful all of this is. There's the fantastic series of, like, the, Team Fortress 2 Neighborhood. If you've never seen that series of YouTube videos, that's fantastic.
I have. Those are pretty good.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god. Especially the snowball fight episode. It's funny as fuck.
I think there's very little TF2 content I haven't seen. Like, I've seen basically all of the fan animations because every once in a while I just love binging just SFM videos, and I will go through like I will spend like 3 days just watching nothing but TF2 videos, and
Yep.
I fucking love it. And it's why I'm so upset. Where it's like, man, imagine if we had gotten like a professional version of these videos, where it's like an actual TV show by the same people who actually wrote all of the shorts and stuff for TF2, with all of the actual voice actors for all the characters on top of that.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, like the things we could have gotten with that.
Yeah.
Seriously, the memes
hoping,
just from that alone.
Here's hoping that it's still possible we might get something like that at some point, because like Valve is just sitting on a golden opportunity and not taking it as long as that show doesn't exist.
I feel like they already missed their opportunity because Soldier's voice actor, having died and everything.
Yeah.
It's like you guys had your chance and you waited too long.
Yeah. But that's the frustrating part about Valve. Valve is so, like, you're allowed to do whatever you want at Valve. You can work on any project you want, but that just makes it too where there's a lot of times where there's projects where get kind of like set aside to the wayside because there's not enough team members there. Like Team Fortress 2 now doesn't have a lot of desks that are rolled at that area. It's like, come on, man. Dude, I bet you they could do something, right? If they do Team Fortress 3 or whatever they call the Source 2 version. I don't care what they call it. Call Team Fortress 3, it'd be funny as fuck, honestly. Because it'd break the whole thing of, like, Val can't count to 3. And it's such a meme that even Gabe Newell himself goes with it. Like, he talks about, okay, we're going to start the presentation, and 1, and 2, and 4.
The only the only reason I don't want them to change it to Team Fortress 3 is because Team Fortress 2 or TF2 just rolls off the tongue way better than TF3 or Team Fortress 3. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea what they would name it. It's like, I don't care what they name it.
Team Fortress 2. 2.
Yes! That would unironically be funny as fuck.
That would be pretty funny if they did that. They literally just TF2 2.
That's something I could imagine them doing.
Yeah, I could too. It would keep in line with the joke too of like never being able to count to 3. They just make 2.
Even better, you know what would be even better? If I could see a video announcement for that. Valve just does a video and suddenly Pyro's just in the background just dancing in a tutu. That's it. Like, they're just there, and then they do like more update video announcements, and there's more of them that are just wearing tutus, and it's like, do you get it now? Do you get it yet? And then finally it just drops of, you're like, Team Fortress 2, and then you see like a Manco like thing coming to stamp, and it accidentally misses the 2 and puts another 2 beside it, and it's like, oh fuck. Team Fortress 2.
Just for the sake of completion, I've got to agree with these two on least favorite being Dax. Again, I don't hate Dax. I do really like the character of Dax in future seasons, but in season 2, she is kind of just there.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to her identity yet. It's clear they're starting to put together Bashir and Ram. They're definitely starting to figure them out as characters, but we haven't gotten that yet with Dax. Not yet.
Yeah. Oh, also, before we get too far off away from that other topic, I just want to throw in, because it's related. I posted something in our chat, and it's so I knew it was coming because I knew Blizzard was this fucking incompetent. But the whole thing with fucking Overwatch 2 coming out, which was supposed to have the whole PvE modes and everything. They've canceled that shit. They're so inept, they can't write a fucking 30-second story plot for their fucking PvE maps, and they just gave the fuck up. They've canceled it outright. They just can't do it.
Well, to be fair,
I love the J. Jonah Jameson picture, though. PvE missions campaigns have to come up with a story for your characters that extends past their token diversity checkboxes. This is too hard. We give up.
Yeah.
to be fair, Overwatch is probably better off without story being made for it, because look at the fucking state Warcraft is in right now. Thank you, Blizzard.
Oh yeah.
Warcraft
It's
is
just
part of my
fucking-
childhood. Now look at it.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous that they literally sold this fucking game. It's literally Overwatch 1 with like slightly different maps that are exactly the same, but now they're like daytime, nighttime shit. Sold it for full price at the fucking with the only thing being, come on guys, at least there's going to be PvE. We'll do PvE, we swear. And people were like, oh well, at least we'll get a story. At least we'll get story with these characters. And then you're not even getting that now. You're not getting anything. There's no reason to fucking play Overwatch 2. There's none.
Yeah.
That's kind of the exact reason I don't want a Team Fortress 3, is because for a game like that at this point, there's no real reason to make a sequel when you could just update it forever. This isn't like a single-player game where it makes sense to do sequels. It's just a perpetually online game where all the content is playing online against other people. So you don't need to make a 2, 3, or 4, or 5.
I don't really want a new Team Fortress game. I just want them to update
this
Team...
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want them to update this one and do more with it. Just more updates, more community stuff, more fixes, more... Oh my god, more fucking dealing with the goddamn hackers, please, for the love of fucking God.
Yeah. Anyways, we've covered Season 2 of Deep Space Nine finally, after someone said 14 months. That sounds about right. I'm very sorry about that. That was definitely not intended. We definitely will be covering Season 3 this year.
I do want to ask, real quick though, Pagan, where do you think Deep Space Nine is going from here?
Oh.
Right? From everything you've seen in Season 1 and 2, what do you think a likely Season 3 would deal with? Like, because I think this would be curious to come back to later when we do get Season 3 and you can see where it's going and see, like, where do you think the puzzle is going? Where do you think the picture is? What picture will be revealed at the end?
I don't know. I don't usually think too far ahead with this kind of stuff. I usually just kind of let the show, like, spoon feed me.
There's your sound clip, everybody. I don't really think... I don't really think...
I guess what I would just say would be, like, I expect to see a lot of shady shit going on with, Bajorans now that fucking cunt is in there as their leader. And I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of workup to dealing with and having issues with the Dominion.
Yeah. I mean, those are fair assumptions. Fair assumptions.
Yeah.
Cunt win, yeah.
Yeah. What I like about this, and I think the overall theme that I take away from Season 2, especially because of how heavily focused it was, is, again, what you see is not what you get. Right? Season 2 has all been misdirections and misplays and politicking and scheming. So it's teaching you that, hey, everything you see might not be accurate. Think about how many episodes in this where we're presented with something and then it turns out an opposite is true, or something else totally different is actually true, right? I think 11 of the episodes deal with misdirections or mistruths in them. Like, let me actually go through this. We have Homecoming, Circle, and Siege. Those are all about, politicking, scheming, and misdirection. Invasive Procedures, not so much. Cardassians is all about it. Melora, not so much. Rules of Acquisition is all about it. Necessary Evil is all about it. Second Sight, not so much. Sanctuary, not so much, because that just comes into the moral and philosophical question of like refugees and everything like that, and asylum seekers, which is interesting. The alternate is a bit about misdirection, so there we go. There's another one. Armageddon Game's all about misdirection. Whispers is all about misdirection. Paradise is about misdirection. Shadowplay is about misdirection. Playing God, not quite as much. Profit and Loss is about misdirection. Blood Oath is not. The Marquee Part 1 and 2 are... The Maquis. The Marquee. Oops, I gave him a rank. They're about misdirection. The Wire is all about misdirection. The Crossover, not so much. The Collaborator is all about misdirection. Tribunal is all about misdirection. And the Jem'Hadar are all about misdirection. So yeah, I'd say that's almost every episode. That's... Holy shit. That's what? 23 out of 26 episodes deal with misdirection as a theme of the episode itself. Yeah, I'd say there's a clear theme going on in Deep Space Nine Season 2. Again, that you shouldn't trust the word of everyone right at their word, that there may be things going on beneath the surface.
Yeah. Something I want to point out too, and this is just a little side note, but Avery Brooks, the actor of Benjamin Sisko, directs some episodes throughout the series, and the one he directed in this season was Tribunal.
Yep.
And I did really like that episode too.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate that he didn't have a better career, because this is something we were kind of talking about the other day when we watched Terminator 2. The guy who played the T-1000 should have had a better career than he did. The guy who played Kyle Reese in Terminator should have had a better career than he did. And the same applies to Avery Brooks. Up until this point, you know, we've got to some good moments with him, but as the series goes on, it just proves what a good actor he is. And, it's really unfortunate that he didn't go on to do a whole lot after this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, I got distracted looking at something in one of the replies.
Oh no.
Hold on, I have to send you this. Copy. So I was looking at the leaks for that fucking new Indiana Jones movie that's coming out, which looks fucking awful. And
didn't you find it funny, that scene in the trailer where Indy is at the table and he's waving his whip back and forth and hitting people, then they all pull their guns on him and he's like, oh, I was laughing hysterically. What a great looking movie. I want
basically
to
there's
kill myself.
There's a leak of like a chase scene.
Oh no.
In the film, and this is one of the fucking one of the reactions below it. It just
Oh, that's way funnier with the tweet itself too. Holy shit. It all looks so perfect.
Can you screen cap the tweet and post the picture in here so I can share it with chat?
Hang on, I'll do it.
Cool. I don't want to spend 8 hours talking about Deep Space Nine. You're halfway there already. Watch out. We're pretty much done at this point. We're wrapping up any minute now. Do we have anything else to say on Season 2?
I guess, Pagan, how does it feel to actually experience a show that is well written?
Yeah, I know this is going to be a hard decision, Pagan, but which did you like more? Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 2 or the Halo show?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know, man. I don't know. Halo had some pretty good shit. I mean, I mean, we got Grease Hair Girl. We got.
I forgot about that. Oh my
We got
god!
Kakana.
Oh!
Don't forget
Oh,
Kakana.
I forgot
Yeah.
about the fucking psycho putting grease in her hair. What the fuck, man? That was
We
in
got
a show.
Base Black Spartan who fucking hated Grease Girl.
Yes.
We got mentally retarded. Well, I was gonna mention like a specific brute, but then I was like, oh, all the brutes are fucking mentally retarded.
All the brutes, everyone in the show, except for the
Yeah.
one base Black Spartan.
God damn, God, that fucking show. Yeah, it's nice being able to experience some actual good. It's funny how like we keep like, oh, we need to watch this movie, we need to watch this show, and we need to do this, and it's all stuff from like years ago,
Yeah.
and it's just like all this stuff
Well,
has some level of like standards and quality to them, and it's like it's amazing how the further you go, like once you reach a certain point around 2015, everything just
falls
starts
off a cliff.
yeah, everything just
Yeah.
dives off a fucking cliff and has no standards anymore.
Not everything, but close to it. Because yeah, we've watched a bunch of movies in the past several months. We've watched both the Terminator movies, Jumanji, Jurassic Park, Predator. We should watch Alien at some point.
Yes.
Um,
Well, I think Pagan has already seen Alien, Aliens 2 and stuff with my community.
oh, okay.
I think so.
Yeah, well, I've seen them like a lot in the past already. Like I used to watch Aliens a lot back in the day, but I also did watch them with Setch as well. So
Yeah,
But anyways, we've watched a lot of these movies, and they're just really solid for the most part. Like, yeah, Jurassic Park has a bunch of tism to it, but Terminator 1 and 2 are really fucking solid movies. And even little things that get brought up later on, especially in Terminator 1, it's stuff that's referenced early on. Oh, the Terminator goes to her mother's place. How does he get this address? Oh, it's from the phone book he took when he raided Sarah Connor's apartment. And we know the mother is still around, still alive, at the start of the film because she gets a call from the mother. It's just little things like that that tie it all together that work really well.
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice being able to get fucking good writing for a change, which it's just so rare nowadays. We do still get it.
Dune
Like,
was good. The
Dune was
Lighthouse
good.
was good.
Lighthouse,
Yeah.
Puss in Boots 2.
Oh yeah.
Top Gun Maverick.
I've been.
Honestly,
yeah.
Bad Guys or The Bad Guys was pretty good too.
I need to watch that still.
Oh.
Edge Runners. I've been watching Vinland Saga, and
Hey, you
yeah,
want to watch
that's
the movie after we're done here?
fucking Vinland Saga is fucking good so far. I really hope it keeps on with the way it is, because if it is, I'm gonna say it's like an infinitely better version of the show of Game of Thrones. I can't say anything about the book. Obviously, I haven't read the book, but like Vinland Saga is basically like the superior version of Game of Thrones.
Oh. But yeah, I think that's everything for today. Do we have anything we want to end on in particular? Or are we just saying our goodbyes now? And chilling?
I think that's it. I can't think of anything else.
Such?
For man, I would just say if you guys haven't seen Deep Space Nine already, just go watch it. It is genuinely a good show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go
Eventually,
watch
I
it.
want to do this kind of breakdown for Babylon 5 as well, because I think these two would really like that show.
It'll be another 13 months before we cover Deep Space Nine again. No, it won't be that long.
Hope not, no.
I want to do Season 3 this year at the very least.
Yeah.
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 Well, I suppose it's time to...
Bacon!
I'm on YouTube. I'll do something eventually, I swear.
Okay. Setch!
Well, I am on YouTube as well. There's some videos there, some old streams and stuff. Mostly they're on Twitch, and now we're on Rumble. And I have actually decided that I will be moving on to Rumble itself full time. But that'll be
Oh.
at the end of the month. We're currently just trading back and forth between Rumble and Twitch, so that people know what's going on. It's not a hard break out there, and I'm watching a bunny rabbit being chased by a cat right now. What the fuck? They just ran past my window. I was like, what the fuck?
There's a Looney
Okay.
Tunes cartoon in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Tom from Tom and Jerry is chasing Bugs Bunny.
Yep. But yeah, so that should be a good time and good fun. I highly recommend coming over, guys. I have had a lot of fun with Rumble. I like Rumble's back end systems. I like all of its like stuff for creators, and you can get started and actually get monetized on Rumble real easy and real quick. Not to mention they actually believe in free speech. Hopefully that'll last. For now, it's what it is, and that's why I appreciate it for what it is now. So yeah.
As for me, I mentioned earlier, I'm working on 4 videos to upload 2 weeks apart from one another through June and July. 2 of them are done. And there's a lot of work on the 3rd and some work done on the 4th. It's entirely scripted, but I need to record and put all the footage in. I think I can do it within that time frame. But yeah. Thank you for coming out, everyone. It's very much appreciated. Have a good night.
Yeah. Goodbye,
Yeah.
everybody.
See ya.
Bye.